What is up, Deuterinos? The time has arrived. The time has finally arrived for us to be able to talk about one of the most anticipated video games of all time. And joining me here today, I'm your host, Brando, by the way, but joining me here today is pretty much the guy, one of the very few people that I've ever met in person that has gushed about the original game as much as I have. And it's what we originally bonded on. And it's what made the basis of this podcast. Mike, welcome back.
Hello.
I didn't come in with the more bombastic intro because I want this episode to feel different. Because this episode is different. Because we've waited so long for this. Yeah. We've waited, what,
That's all I'm gonna do.
like 20 years at least.
20 years.
You know, they originally announced a remake of FF7 back in 1999 or 2000. They were going to remake 7, 8, and 9 for the PS2, and then they realized it'd be too daunting. So they didn't do it. They did the FF7 tech demo on the PS3 that, you know, showed what the games could look like in this new graphics engine that they had running in real time. And they just redid the intro to FF7. Which, of course, they had, you know, character models from Advent Children already done. So it was a lot. They didn't have to do as much creating from the ground up, like on that front. But it was just a tech demo. They were like, does this mean, you know, people are like, does this mean a remake is coming? They're like, no, absolutely not. That would take way too much work. You know, and so we move along. We get some more Final Fantasies. We get 13. We get 14, the online game. We get 15. Watch the movie first. And then we get Final Fantasy VII Remake. They finally remade a portion of the original game. A portion.
Of the original game.
Game. So, guys, we are going to try and keep it kind of spoiler-free for the first part of this. I just want to, if you guys want to like avoid spoilers at all costs, please listen to this after you've played the game as much as you want. We are going to get into spoiler territory at some point.
There will be early spoilers because Chapter 2 has the first introduction of Whisper/Sephiroth. So
yes. I mean,
technically that's considered a spoiler, but it's so early in the game, it's not really a spoiler in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's early. We're going to try to avoid like you know, in-game spoilers and, you know, kind of other big stuff. Because when we get to discussing the story, that's when we're going to really tell you, hey, cut this off if you really haven't played the game. Because we're going to talk about characters, talk about, you know, music, other things about getting this game to us, and all that kind of stuff. And that won't be as bad as like of a spoiler, but just fair warning. You know, listen at your own danger, or listen at your own caution, or whatever. Because Mike. It's finally here. I got this just today. How can I review the game when I just got it?
Well, somebody bought 2 copies, which we knew was going to happen.
So there was a delay in the shipment of physical copies through Amazon, and that's where I pre-order almost all of my games because it's before the current circumstances that we're living in. It's very, like, I've never had a thing where I've had a game delayed. It's always there on day of, and I've even had one time with Dragon Quest VIII on the 3DS, it came the day, or like a day or two early. Like, that's badass. Like, I got this before anybody else. With this came out on Friday the 10th of April, and I got it today on
The 15th.
The 15th. Originally, it told me on Tuesday, but I got it today. This is the deluxe edition.
Which I also purchased. Have
For,
you already opened it to
yes,
be
I
able to show?
yes I have.
Okay, because all my stuff is actually on display. So like I have
Yeah.
because one, the cover of the steel book is
So first of all,
beautiful.
you get the actual just the game.
OG cover,
OG
baby.
cover. There's actually a flip cover.
Yes.
I'm not showing you my codes because there's actually a code in here that I haven't redeemed yet. That's Cactar. So
He's not really worth it.
Is he not?
No.
That's
I was a little upset. I got him and he doesn't do crap.
Anyway.
I mean, early game, he does 1,000 damage. So that's pretty decent, but now that we're on hard mode, he's literally just nothing.
So the game comes on 2 Blu-ray discs because it's a pretty big game. It's like it says
once an install.
Yeah, it says 100 gigabytes minimum. I think when I downloaded the game, it was 80 something gigs, and I'm sure they're going to be doing some updates and stuff like that. It is a reversible cover, so the other side is just a black cover with the logo.
Right.
Which I won't use that side because I really dig the old school artwork.
Yeah, the redo of the original artwork.
Yes, I thought that was just so cool, and so it comes with just normal copy of the game, and then you said the steelbook, and
me that is
there is no amount of video or pictures that does this quality because it's really, really, really sharp.
It's phenomenal.
And the inside of the steelbook for your discs has the redo art of Cloud in front of the.
So that's actually a in the game. Spoiler alert / not really.
Yeah.
When you first walk up to look at the Shinra building, on top of the plate, on later in the chapters, it's the second reactor, I believe. It stops and does the pan and gives you the exact view of the original game, which is that view that you just saw right there. And it is, when I saw that, I literally just kind of like,
oh yeah. We got a mini soundtrack. It's one CD. It's got 12 tracks of new music from the game, and there's actually a full soundtrack being released in May.
Pause for a moment.
That Mike was showing me before we went on air. It's 8 discs because it's 7 discs of all the music from the game, as well as 1 disc full of bonus songs, of those extra collectible songs that you get throughout the game.
Okay, so in a couple of seconds, like right now, I'm going to go ahead and screen share this so that we can actually see it without doing an image / change up. In 3, 2, 1, sharing. Boom.
Hey, it's
not me. Boom. Not boom. That. So, yes. It looks great. I don't have the list up. I just pulled the image up.
Yeah.
But it is 7 discs, and it is, from what I understand, from what I've played the game, it is every single song, period, in the entire thing. So, that's a big deal. All right.
And how much is it, Mike?
7777.
All lucky 7.
Which, if all those that know, Cade Sith's ultimate attack is 7777 roulette.
Well, you also
777.
Well, you have all lucky 7s. If you manage to get into all lucky 7s,
instant death.
Yeah, pretty much. So then the last thing in the deluxe set was the art book, and I pre-ordered this I pre-ordered it when they announced it, but then a few weeks later they put it on discount. So I actually got the deluxe version of this game for about $60 compared to the 80 or whatever it was. So it's about $20 off. So like, to me, that's a duh. That's like, get the game, get some extra stuff. And
so you go ahead.
Very, 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 very lastly here, the art book has like they even put the Toad artwork.
Yes, I know. I love it.
And Barrett's cracked me up. Barrett's cracked me up. Like, I can't believe it because Barrett's little toad guy has got sunglasses on.
Yes. Yeah, he looks like a battle toad.
Yeah, and
by the way,
there's somebody else in here that I don't recall seeing in the game at all. Maybe if I replay it, he might be there.
Show me.
It's a drawing of Zangan, Tifa's martial arts teacher.
Yeah, he's not in the game.
He's not in there, but they went ahead and did a concept art for him, and they got concept art for pretty much every character that is in the game.
All the enemies, all the bosses.
The enemies, the summons, the bosses, and then of course they also have different enemy types and locations and vehicles. Like some of the big paintings that they did are just like, I cannot believe they put that much work into just the painting. You know, like,
Yes.
like you know what I mean? Because that's just like unreal. But
and post the one that Aerith draws later in the game, that painting was phenomenal.
oh, that oil pastel painting?
Yeah, the one that she has on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh, whenever we booted up, because I was trying to play the Fight On theme and find the new simulator, it popped up like immediately, and it just reminds me how good it is. I actually really liked the children's drawings in the orphanage.
Oh yeah. So, oh yeah, me too. Like where you have like the Moogle and the Chocobo and all right. So before we move on to you, as we said, I got 2 copies of the game because I ordered this and the physical copy was delayed. Obviously, I'm a physical collector. I've got to have this. Like this is there's no effing way I'm not getting, like, we talked about it here on the show when they announced the first class edition. You know, I want to say we watched it live, and
we did, because I almost bought it and it wasn't worth it.
Well, no, because it was a cloud figure with the motorcycle, and it was just.
But 2-week delay in receiving it.
Well, guess what?
They got more.
People who ordered the first class edition got theirs before the game came out on Friday last week.
Fucking bastards.
Yeah.
So that is actually the only reason why, to segue into mine, I ordered off of GameStop, is because it was like, hey, this gets released Thursday at 9 p.m. on the original date. The original date, not the pushback. So I ordered it right there only because of that one extra day. Somebody got that week off. I could have got that week off. I decided not to because I was going to call in.
Yeah.
And then it got pushed back to my vacation, which ended up becoming all of our vacations.
Yeah, it did. Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate that. You're just sharing that with everybody. And you know what? I'm thankful.
Yeah. So, and actually it took me a lot longer to beat the game than I expected.
Same.
Because I spent probably 4 hours just walking and looking at what they had done. But so I got the exact same edition as you did, physical copy, but I have a story. So I actually had to pick mine up in person. And I went to my GameStop that I ordered from. I called them a week in advance, got all the information. So I had to wait, standing outside. And there was a group of us all spread out, 6 feet apart.
How many people?
10. There was... There was 8, including me, that stood out there. Now, basically, they were only taking 2 people at a time, and you would tell him, show him your ID, give him your debit card. He went and got your stuff, then brought it back. So, one of the things that I got that I did not expect to get, because like I said, the only reason why I pre-ordered it on there was because they were guaranteeing 9 p.m. release the day before.
Right.
So, That's why I did it. Granted, you did not say what you got for your pre-order.
Oh, for my pre-order, I got a PS4 theme, and it's a
Which
Sephiroth.
I'm jealous of.
It's a dynamic Sephiroth theme, and it's the picture that's on the steelbook with him
Yeah,
standing
but it's
by the in front of the Shinra building with the flames, except like all the embers and stuff move, and his hair kind of, I'm not sure if his hair moves, but it's around that, around that kind of the same level. So that's what I got, because I'm back here and I'm like, like, also, since I pretty much was like, what am I gonna do? Do we have the extra money for me to do this? Because this is an extra $60 that I have to spend on this game.
mm-hmm.
I got the go ahead. I was forever thankful. Thank you. And then about a week before, they opened up preloads, so I was able to download the game almost a week in advance on both of my consoles. The only thing that wouldn't install was the Chocobo Chick DLC that you got for pre-ordering it, and that didn't install until the date cleared.
Wait, the Chocobo Chick?
Chocobo
Because
Chick.
it was Cactar.
I got Chocobo Chick for pre-ordering.
Through Amazon?
No, through the PlayStation Store.
Oh, that's right. For the PlayStation Store. I was like, wait a minute. I didn't get this. Anyways.
Choco Chick is actually kind of cool, because when you go to use a move, there's Choco Lightning, Choco Blizzard, Choco Fire, Choco Wind. So there's like each of the elementals, and then its ultimate attack was Choco Flare. Until I got,
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty useful early on. After you get Ifrit, he's not really as useful.
But he does all the elements. So if you're doing elemental attacks,
sure.
You can.
If you're
the flare is magic damage,
non-elemental. Yeah, non-elemental.
Yeah.
So anyway, like it is pretty useful, because you get all of them, and it can be strong against any type. But I was able to preload it. I was able to start playing it midnight Friday. So there was a quick plan that I had to stay up and start, but I chose not to, and chose to just wait and start about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, which I remember you sent me a text that morning and said, I woke up early today, and now I have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I respond with?
A fucking freaking picture.
But see, I made sure that it's from the early part of it's the same, it was Reactor 1. It's from the demo. But I'm like, boom, and you're like, what? Because I had told you that I had pre-ordered it, but you had forgotten.
Yep.
And so I actually got a few hours head up on you, and it pretty much stayed that way, even though, I streamed the whole first day. I was gonna stream the whole time, but I had an issue with the stream, where I lost audio for 2 hours.
Right.
And so a whole segment, and it was the segment, like chapter 5 or whatever, or maybe it was after that. Maybe it was like chapter 8. Yeah, chapter 8. Budding bodyguard. Because it was full of side quests. Okay, cool. Run along, do some stuff, and then like it was late at night. And I'm like, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and that way tomorrow when I go up, I'm ready to continue on with the story. Well, somebody hopped onto the chat. It's like, I can't hear the game, and I'm like, so I opened up the stream real quick. Shit, I can't hear it either. Hopefully, because I can hear it just fine. Like it was no issue. But I'm like, hopefully when I stop recording, the recording's fine. It wasn't. I had to replay the whole section all over again. And after that, I didn't stream the rest of the game. I did record it. All right. As of right now, 15 parts are on the YouTube channel for the Game Addicts podcast YouTube channel. I have 2 more to upload, and so like there's that. Like it'll be up there within the next day or two.
Hard spoilers in those. Hard spoilers.
Yeah.
That's
like
chapter 17 and 18, right? Or is it just 18? Because 18 is the last one that's like 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah. So it's like I'm right there, in this upload. Those just haven't been uploaded yet. But like quite literally on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I uploaded 4 videos 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. Boom, 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 boom. 2 hours apiece. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, Part 5, Part 6, Part 7, Part 8. It was like boom, boom,
Right,
boom,
right,
boom.
right.
Yeah. So I was shucking through this game. There were some side quests on my replay. I missed a side quest. I already did it once, and I don't want to do it again. I'm
Yeah.
like, I just want to, like, I had that one left. I'm like, whatever, come on. I already know what I get for it. I'm not, screw it. But there were a few others that I apparently missed as well, like in Wall Market. That was kind of my fault because I'm like, I want to go on. We gotta go there. We gotta go in there. And I'm just like, oh crap, yeah. And they're like, hey, if we do this, we can't come back. Yeah, fine, whatever. I don't care. And we just moved on. But no, it did take. I think my final clock time for the game was 34, 35 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Right about that. So this game is a good 40-hour thing, and then with some replayability. But you got something pretty special with yours.
I did, and I wasn't expecting it because it wasn't originally announced that it was going to happen. At least I didn't see it unless it must have been later. Because once I was, hey, you don't get it the day before, I was like,
Yeah.
but then I was happy because it fell into my time off.
Yeah.
At that point, it was my time off. It became all of our time offs. But I'm going to bring this fairly close to the screen because you don't have an image. But I got the Schindler Electric Power Company staff employee card that you do from chapter 15, I believe, is going back, is Belly of the Beast. It's 16, might be 16. Anyways, I gotta let my camera focus.
There you go.
If I can stay still.
Yep.
Anyways, which is really cool. And obviously, when you play the game, as everybody knows, even from the original, you have about 20 of these or 10 of these stinking key cards you have to get.
Yeah.
In this one, I quotation marks. But that was a nice addition. He handed it to me. I'm like, what is this? He goes, oh, that's your gift. I'm like, what gift? He goes, oh, we handed out. We decided to give gifts since, we couldn't. They changed the date and, stuff's kind of going down. So we added this. I'm like, sweet. Didn't expect it, but all right. But yeah, so it was an interesting time to pick that up. It's the first time that's ever happened. It took a long time, actually, because I was fourth when everybody went and got their games. And it took about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, standing outside waiting. And then I came back, loaded it, did some stuff around the house so I could kind of stay in here for at least the first couple of hours.
Well, yeah, because the install time was so long. It's about an hour.
It's like an hour and something. For me, I think it's like an hour. I think it's like an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like almost exactly an hour. So, yeah, it was different. This is definitely a odd situation with life. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. So it made it weird, but I still got it.
Mm-hmm.
Physical copy. If I would have been in the same boat, if it would have happened to you, if it would have happened to me, would have happened to you, what happened to you happened to me. Let me rephrase that. I would have done the same thing. I would have bought it on PS4.
I pretty much, if I had to wait until today to start playing it, I would have gone off my rocker.
I wouldn't have. No way.
Yeah, like
because that was my job for the last 4 days. So it was 10 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Like
minimum 10 hours every day.
Friday and Saturday, I put in 12 hours both those days. I started each day at around 8:30, and then
see right there, you got 2 extra hours on me each day.
And then I played Friday night. I played until 1:00 in the morning, and then Saturday I played it until about I think I quit early, a little early on Saturday, like about 11:30. I could have kept going, but I decided to quit and get some sleep because like I stayed up so late the night before, and then on Sunday I had to cut around 7 because she wanted the baby to sleep back here. Because when the baby sleeps a little bit better back here than he does in the rest of the house, because we're so close, and literally us walking or making too much noise can kind of startle him and wake him up or make him roll over, and he gets pissed off that he's on his belly. So then it's like, oh crap, now he's awake. Now he's got to go back to sleep. Sometimes he doesn't. Being back here, he's kind of isolated. So I acquiesced and did that, and then because of that, I was not able to beat the game on Sunday. But I did on Monday morning. So
yeah, so you beat it Monday about 6 hours before I did.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
because I text you and I'm like, hey, I'm here, but I also, the little difference here is that I want to be able to put my hands up. I also did every single simulator in the Shinra building,
I did,
which you ended up skipping. I just wanted to do it. I only missed 2 quests, and well, technically, if you consider Eris, Limit Break 2, level 2, as a quest, we both missed that one.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do it immediately after the Coliseum. We continued the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed those 2 quests. The one to help Johnny because he's sick. And whatever came after that, it's question marks for me because I didn't catch that one. But the one I didn't do was to Johnny and then the other one at Walmart.
So I didn't start really focusing on learning my abilities like until Hojo's lab.
See, I started with Tifa and Cloud.
Yeah.
Because Cloud, you use the same weapon. I mean, like, the Buster Blade starts out with its ability already 100% proficiency. So I went through. I didn't do Barrett's until really, really late. Since I got him after all of the disaster.
Yeah.
And I really didn't focus on him because I had that really good gun that he has that like doubles his damage. And I put all the luck on him so that his crits.
Was that Big Bertha?
Yes.
I love that gun.
That's his best gun.
Oh man.
That's his best gun.
Yeah.
It just does so much damage. And then if you put
that with Lucky and then Maximum Fury. Yep. Woo! Woo! Tears through shit. Man.
It's nuts. And then when you get Catastrophe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It gets a bigger percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes off weapon base.
Yeah.
Also. And I did one where, those ghosts, there's ghosts that you have to make them split to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
I killed it raw damage. Never got to split because, it only takes like 2 seconds that he's up. When he's staggered and he takes like a bunch. He actually takes regular damage.
Yeah.
And 160 onto that. I had Catastrophe running while that happened, and it hit for like 6K a hit, and it just dead.
Boom.
And I was like, what?
So like, using Barrett was okay with me, but yeah, when I got Big Bertha and got him after a certain point and started really focusing on trying to because he became my tank healer type dude. Like, stay in the back, he heals people, and he can range attack, right? But then I'm like, all right, so he does this and does that, and I'm like, what's this move? Maximum Fury? Okay, let's try it. Oh my gosh! And then there's a section of the game where you this is what I really liked. Like, you actually played as him, just him, for a minute.
Yes.
And I thought that was really cool.
And you blow through it. I loved it.
And dude, that's where I kind of fell in love with using Barrett, because it's like, I like using Tifa, I like using Cloud. Aerith is a little bit different. She's that long distance mage character. Depending on what you like in your gameplay, whether or not you actually like playing with her or not. I was kind of indifferent. I would switch to her and then switch back. But there were times where I would be in battles and I would just play as Barrett because he's so fun. He doing that overcharge thing that really fills up the AT. Like, I would give him the ATB stagger, because I would do the overcharge, boom, 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 boom. It would fill up my ATB and then it would stagger him and go boom and be full. So then I'm like, Maximum Fury, boom, 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 boom. And meanwhile, while I'm Maximum Furying, I switch over to Cloud have him do Infinity Infinity End that you learned from the Hard Edge. And it hits like a truck. Boom! And
it
it
hits
takes
for like
it takes a minute to do, but man, it hits. And
if you've got it timed right, you
yeah.
can really do some damage.
Well, and that's why I would always wait and use it. Wait until they're staggered, and then because now they're not moving, you can really hit them with it, along with the Maximum Fury, along with Tifa. And the thing is that, like I said, I really didn't start focusing on Tifa or Aerith's abilities, or even some other Barrett's, because once I got Maximum Fury, I had Maximum Fury, Infinity End for Cloud. But what else did I have for Cloud? I had Focus Thrust and Braver, and I didn't really care about anything else. I'm like, man, I'm just tearing through stuff. This is cool. But now that or like later on, like I got to that part, I'm like, man, I haven't done this yet. I haven't done that yet. What's this one? Okay, cool. And getting like, okay, so Tifa has a focus thing that does stagger stuff. Okay, cool. And then she has an ability, the Star Shooter or whatever.
The Star is it Stardust? I think it's just Stardust.
Man, that thing, she hits like a boom, boom, boom. Again, kind of like Infinity is, and for her, where like she has to power it up for a second. So wait until they're staggered and then unleash. And
there is a huge thing with her. So what I did with her, I played her a lot. Her and Barrett. I actually did not play as Cloud that much, other than it's like when Aerith was gone, I used him to do prayer, and then because I would put it to where once you got the Mithril Blade, Cloud was your best magic person during that segment. So I put auto healing abilities on him and let him heal the party and do damage. And I played mainly as Barrett and Tifa. And when I played as Tifa, when I did the one-on-ones in the Colosseums, she is double the speed of anyone else by far, because I put on ATB fill quickly, the premeditated battle. So when you started out, boom, I had that maxed out. So she almost started with a max bar. So right from the get-go, I went straight into her overhaul ability, where it's unbridled strength, or it's unbridled, and she pops it, and then that increases the damage. Then I had her feather light gloves on, which makes her bar fill up a lot faster. So basically, I started the fight off, boom, unbridled ability, and then by 2 hits in, I could do Chai. The Chai one, I don't know if you got that one. It puts a ball in front of them. So
yeah.
So the thing is when you do that, it's like a Kamehameha, but it stays in one place, and it stays there. Well, if they stagger and you hit with that, it fills their ATB bar up continuously. So I would do that. I do the Stardust. It would be like boom, and then it would be ready to do it again. I would do it again. It would do it again, and do it again, and do it again. So when they staggered, I could literally just constantly spam that. And she was by far my highest DPS. Because she is just so fast. That AT bar, I mean, literally one regular set of attacks was 2 full bars, and then it was unbridled. And then when you did that, it took your whirling uppercut into the other one.
And then if you did it again, it changed it again,
right?
To an even more powerful attack. So
because you would do that, and then you'd hit the unbridled again, it would pop it into the big one, which was actually a really long animation. So you had to do that during stagger.
Yeah.
But the thing is you could do like those 5 abilities on a normal stagger. And she would literally you could see the health, because it shows the health. Here's her full health. And then when they stagger, it shows a red bar showing how much damage you took away during the stagger. I could take down a full boss's health with just her alone. And it was, once I realized that, I was like, I need to focus on her stuff. So I got every one of her moves. The only thing I didn't get was her final. I did get her final gloves, but I didn't use them because
I missed them.
The feather gloves are the best, because you get like 6 materias.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do her right, you can literally just stack her up with just damage. And she was just insane.
So, um, do you think the gameplay is pretty fun and easy to learn?
I think that it is easy and fun, but I think for you to really be good at it, it is extremely hard to master because there's so much that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to think about, like, personally, like playing Tifa. I put all that speed stuff on her because I played as her. You have to think about what character you're going to mainly play as and how you're going to set it up. Because for a while, I used all those speed and used her as my healer. Because obviously, Aerith's gone for a little bit. So I had to have her heal.
Mm-hmm.
And her bar would fill up so fast that I could literally just constantly heal when I needed it. So yes and no. Like, I had so much. There's so much in it's so in depth. It's easy to learn, but to master it is very difficult.
I really liked how you could just go along and have all those shortcuts and do have a lot of customization with that. But I also liked the ability to, when you're like, okay, hold on, what do I need to do here? And you can kind of hit the select thing to kind of slow down battle a little bit, switch over to Barrett, because Barrett was my main other healer. And all right, Barrett, you need to hit this over here. All right, now Cloud, what are you doing? Okay, you don't have an ATB yet. So let me get out of this, switch over to you, get you there, and that way when
Yep,
it allowed
that's
me,
what I did.
it was a good mix of being right in there, right in the thick of things, but still being able to that old school Final Fantasy ATB or turn based, where you're able to kind of strategize a little bit and pull
I
yourself
have
back.
something to add. So I didn't use the quick ones until Sephiroth because I didn't feel like I needed it, and then I had to remember which ones I had because I had the ones from way back.
Yeah.
Well, luckily for the people that I had this stuff on. But like, obviously, you're using prayer with Aerith. If you set Aerith up right, like a regular cure is half your health bar.
I know, and also
2K.
she can do the arcane ward. And
Yes.
or is that the one? But like she has one where she can, anything cast in that bubble will cast twice.
ATB ward.
Uh, well, ATB, like anything cast in that, or no, arcane ward, anything cast in that bubble, any magic cast will cast twice.
Yes.
So like if you had a magic attack or a magic cure, it was like boom, boom, boom,
It was
boom,
double.
boom, 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 boom.
But she also had an ATB bar
Yeah.
ward, and if you like using Tifa,
Mm-hmm.
once I had that, I took stuff off of Tifa and put it onto like Cloud because I didn't main as Cloud. I mainly switched, like during Genova. It was Cloud, Tifa, Aerith. That was my group because whenever you staggered him, if you were ready with Tifa, you could just unleash a godly amount of damage.
Yeah.
But I started you. It's the first time I used the ATV ward, and I was like, okay, well, my next fight, which is no shit, I've already done a spoiler, anyways. But
Wink.
yeah, wink. We all knew it was there. They showed images beforehand. Another fight that will not be mentioned.
Not
I
yet.
switched stuff. Yeah, I switched stuff up to put the ward on. Took all the speed stuff off of her and put it on Aerith, so I could main as Cloud, and then switch between Cloud and T. I did a lot of switching.
Mm-hmm.
I would do a full up an AT bar, switch, fill up an AT bar, switch, fill up an AT bar, switch. That's how I played it. I switched all characters I was playing with all the time. And then when it was like, I'm going to die, I would switch over to a prayer or whatever I had. And that's how I rotated. I didn't use the quick stuff, and like I said, until Sephiroth, until I was like, shit, he is really bringing the pain.
Yeah. So there's only one thing about the battle system, about the gameplay, that frustrated me, and that was how seemingly easy it was for the enemies to stagger you when you were trying to cast a spell. And
Yeah.
on one hand, I think that needs to be a thing. You can stagger them; they do need to be able to stagger you. but it seemed like they were able to do it a lot easier than you were able to do that to them. And like when you were like, all right, let me cast this, the third tier level of fire.
Oh yeah, you're doubling the time.
Yeah, and but not only that, but it takes away your ATB bar and your MP for even trying to use it. So that was frustrating at times. I think that I'm not asking for an easy mode. I'm just like, maybe look at that percentage of how easy they can stop you from doing that, because it really seemed like if they just slapped you in the face, they could stop you, and that was annoying because it meant that you really needed to. If you were trying to do that with somebody like Tifa, she was my de facto lightning. Like, okay, you have lightning. Cloud has fire. And ice. I just had those on there. That way, if I needed somebody with that elemental, like, okay, this person has this. This person has that. So like, while Tifa doesn't use it a lot, when it's a machine, boom, lightning, it's staggered. Then she's in there tearing stuff up, right? But
did you put the elemental on her?
I don't think I got the elemental.
The elemental boost, which allows you
can put it on your weapons and
weapons.
Yeah,
so that's why I use the feather gloves, because you can use the feather gloves, and then they have a whole section. It's core 1 or 2, and it was proficient with lightning, fire, frost. So I put her with lightning, and then put elemental boost lightning on her gloves, and she attacks, and her AT bar fills up so much that. And then I only use, same as you, I only use lightning for machines, but she had that extra element that gives her a higher percentage. So I loved it.
There were times where it would frustrate me because I'm like, all right, let me get this off real quick to really help, because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna use Thundaga, and they would be like, and she's like, ah, I'm like, damn it, all right, screw you then. So what would I do? I would use a regular, just 1 tier thunder, and it would cause like, not even a fraction of the damage, but they would still be weakened to it. Or I would use Thundara, which would double that, but would have a higher probability of stagger.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, if they're weak to it, Thundara will stagger them. Thundaga will do a lot more damage and stagger them, but Thundara would just do this, the bare minimum. And I would switch to that. And so I wrote that down as a gripe. It's not a negative, it's a gripe. Like,
I liked it to a degree, because when you do your hard battles, there were points where I had to click over. So I'd hit over and immediately gain their bar. And then when that individual person switched to you, because that individual person, whoever you are controlling, is quite literally up your ass.
Yeah.
Hardcore. He would even stop in the middle of one of his attacks to switch back to you. Ridiculous, okay?
Oh, I know.
So you had to pick your character, basically block, and then force the other person to cast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started using the quick bar, because I had, my healers and stuff like that actually had quick bar abilities set up. And I really liked Barrett with the range, because there are times in the game where the range is so bad. Some of those range guys get so far away that you can't even jump up to hit them.
Yeah.
Like the pillar.
Yeah.
When you're doing those stupid flying ones.
Yeah.
You can't even reach them. So your characters are just standing there looking at him like, hey, I'm stupid. How you doing? And Barrett's the only person. Yeah. So it's like, it's very annoying.
Yeah.
But I also for a long time, I used Barrett as a tank. And I put provoke, auto heal. And when he would level up his thing, his AT bar, I would throw Steel Skin on so he could actually cast while being beat to crap.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you use Steel Skin, it really reduces his stagger rating significantly.
All in all, I thought the gameplay of this game was very fun. Very fun to play.
I loved it. I love the fact that it forced you to play the other characters a little bit, because like, the AT bar doesn't fill up. So like, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to use Aerith. And then when it's a person that's ranged, she does a ton of damage.
Dude,
like, a ton.
As I said, towards the end, I finally started focusing on their abilities, on Tifa and Aerith. And to be fair, even Barrett and Cloud, because I'm just like, I I got into a level of that comfort where I wasn't really needing any other abilities, and I didn't want to use those weapons because they were lesser than what I was using. But it's encouraged to just because it doesn't take long to learn the abilities like at all. Like quite literally, like when I was looking at weapons that I had, I'm like, okay, I never even bothered to do this. Let's try to do this, and I was just powering through them to the point where I have Tifa's and Cloud's all done, and I'm still in Hojo's lab. Like
if you do the AT boost,
yeah,
the ATB boost, and then the first strike,
yep.
you can basically max those out in one fight.
But Aerith has that. I think it's called Ray of Judgment, and
that's awesome.
And it hits like a damn truck, and it staggers, and it's like, dang, that's a good hit for her.
And it's exactly the same as Maximum Fury because it stops them from doing anything. They're stuck in the ray because when you use Maximum Fury, it actually lifts them off the ground.
Yeah.
If they're a foot soldier. And same thing with Ray. She jumps up and she does the beam. And I tell you what, a combo that's unbelievable. Barret and that.
Yeah.
Back to backing those. And they can't get up.
Nope. You pretty much pincered them.
You switch to Cloud. Yeah, you can switch to Cloud and then go into the slam, and you could actually do his big attacks because Cloud's abilities are good, but you have to be set up for them. You can't just like Braver's good, Focus is good, and the triple slash is good.
You know what? When I first got triple, I wasn't really digging it until, as I said, I started working on them and I started seeing the benefits of it. So I actually started using it a lot more once I started learning it. And it's really helpful with multiple enemies because they aren't just normal hits. Like when I first saw it, I thought they were just normal hits, so I didn't focus on learning it. And I really should have.
A half Braver.
Yeah, Braver.
Because Braver hits for like when you're really set up at the end, Braver hits for like 3 or 4K.
It hurts. It definitely hurts. But no, gameplay was great. I absolutely loved the gameplay. I haven't tried it in classic mode because I tried the demo in classic mode and I didn't really feel like it was any different.
I didn't like it.
I didn't feel any different. But so we talked about us getting in the game. We talked about the gameplay a little bit. We're at 47 minutes of this podcast.
I told you it was a 3-hour podcast.
So
we can skip chapter 1.
Sure. We can skip chapter 1. But one thing that we cannot skip. Okay, one thing that we can't skip because it's live on YouTube right now. You can see me booting the game up, and it gets to the start screen with the prelude playing, and I start tearing. I'm tearing up now thinking about it.
Yep.
Because now it's real. Here we are. Game's real. I'm about ready to start this thing, and the intro movie plays. Of course, we've already seen the intro movie. We saw the intro movie when it got released. We saw the intro.
Different whenever you're gonna play it.
Yeah, but we played because I played the demo twice.
I played it once,
and so I saw the intro movie, but here it is, and it's like just the grand, like the grandeur of it, like the grand scale of just like how of everything, and then you go in there, you play the first thing, but there was like one thing immediately that was different from the demo. And I'm playing it, and it's in chapter 1. It's when Jesse asks, "So are you and Tifa? Are you too close?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of has a little like flash thing, and all of a sudden he opens the door and he's in Nibelheim.
Oh, that was beautiful!
Oh my gosh,
beautiful!
And then
transition.
I'm tearing up.
I'm goosebumping out
because you're looking through his eyes and he sees Tifa as a little girl, and she's calling out to him. She goes, "Are you ignoring me?" And then he's like, he kind of comes back out of it,
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes back normal. It's like typical. It's every day. If I'm back here doing something with this microphone, what am I gonna do? Smack it right across. I'm gonna smack it. So, first chapter is Reactor 1, but that opening with like,
it's amazing. Because they do the Eagle View, but they took that from Advent Children.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Advent Children, no spoilers here, it's literally the first scene, is Red 13 with his babies,
mm-hmm.
and they're running and they're looking over the ruins of Midgar. and that's what supposed to be 100 or a
500,
couple of
500.
500 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does like an overseen where it kind of goes around, pans around the city about half of it. So they took that idea and they made it now. So you see the town alive, breathing, moving, and it's just like this is what I've always wanted to see.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. It's like I'm literally looking there going, "This is what I want. This is what I want." And that feeling of this is real. I'm finally playing this game, and I actually get to see the town alive for the first time is amazing.
What'd you think of the graphics of the game?
So at one point, I did take a moment to really look at the graphics. Outside of it, I think that they were great. I think that it is about as good. I did mine. Obviously, I believe you did yours in the same thing in 4K slash 2K. That's what I did mine in.
Okay, so because I was capturing, it could only do 1080, but on my TV out there with that HDR,
Oh,
oh,
dude,
oh,
it's on
oh,
all. That's what I did on mine. But there are parts where like it zooms out. Uh, so in the weight room, this is where I noticed it. I really looked at his patch on his shoulder, which is actually blue. I didn't know that. So I like really looked at it, but you can see where they squared off like his body a little bit. But that's it. And that's me literally like inches away from the screen looking at it. As of the whole grand scheme, I thought it was absolutely the best looking game I've seen in a long time.
I thought that they were 9 out of 10 most of the time. Like,
Yes.
it looked fantastic, but there are times where like the camera would move, and there would be certain aspects.
That's where I noticed his shoulder
Either
because it moved just right.
things in the background mostly would be pretty blurry, and this looked. It's not that it was bad; it was just noticeable with how good everything else looked.
Yes.
So like it's just it's a tad bit jarring because it doesn't feel like as polished as this game looks. 90% of the time, 95% of the time, there's that one moment you're like, oh wow, that flower looks awful. You know, like they really didn't do that. Like those flowers in that right there in that one scene just looked like you could just see them. You can see their characters. You see other stuff. It's like it's crisp as can be, and it just that one section, that patch of flowers looks like wow, that they did that back on the PS1.
I also think that they did it on purpose to a degree of the size of this game, how good it looks, how detailed the story is, but they also did what's the blur background.
Yeah.
And in the blur background, you could literally see like the PS1, PS2 graphics back there. But I also believe that that is on purpose. I think some of those are on purpose to give you that look, it's blurred, and then when they would it's blurred, so you're looking at the person, it blurs, and as it goes back and cleans up, it takes that PS1 graphics and turns it into current gen graphics.
What I
thought that was a touch that he hit. If it's wrong, that's just me grasping straws here. But
I just kind of felt like it was a way to help the processing,
yes.
to because it's such a pretty game, it's such a demanding looking game that doing little things like that would help not make the processor of the PS4 or your PC or whatever it's going to be played on be working too hard, because
I think they focus only on the PS4 because they will upgrade all that stuff, because you best believe that's getting put on my PC.
Yeah.
And the graphics are going all the way as high as they can go.
In fact, the last trailer that got released, it said gameplay captured via PC. So people are like, what?
But they also said PC, so they specified, hey guys, this is the top dog.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get any better than this currently.
So, the next thing I want to talk about, music production.
I have one name to drop, and I don't actually have to drop it.
Well, I know what you're going to say, but the interesting thing is he didn't do the bulk work on this at all.
I know he did.
Uh,
His underling did.
well, yeah, it was a guy that worked with him on the original.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have his name, so please excuse me. But he worked with him on the original game. He's actually retired. From doing this, but they like Nobuo said, "Hey, bring this guy in. He's good," and they offered it to him. And he goes, "Yes!" And they had a younger guy with him. Those two guys did that together. Nobuo came in and did the new song, the
Yes.
like the song, and he was there for a consultant because this is his music. And ultimately, the way that I thought and the way that I perceived it is that Nobuo, while he had consultation, he kind of let these guys run with it and go, "You guys do
He
what you
did.
want," because these guys are like, "Look, this music is already fantastic. You know, you know, we can just simply redo this in the modern." And for a lot of songs they did, but what's cool is that they did different versions of the same song, and you hear them all.
Yes.
Uh,
That was absolutely brilliant to do that because you would have they had one which was classic.
yeah,
Then they had one that was new age. I want to say, you know which one I'm talking about. Then they had one that was metal,
sure. Well,
steel guitar.
different intensities. Like for the
Mm-hmm.
battle music, you had like 4 or 5 different versions of the battle music with different intensities, and even had some like that were they put different like in the reactor. You would have like a reactor version of the battle theme where it's a battle theme,
Yes.
but it has ambiance of the reactor theme in it, or something, or like same with the Shinra. It's like it's there, and what they'd have different versions of these themes that would be playing all at the same time, but whatever you were doing on screen would change the version. Like so if you had just a background music playing and then you went to a battle, sometimes it wouldn't just shift to a new battle song. It would be that song you were hearing amped up, and then
Mm-hmm.
now you're in a different mode of that song. And then once you got out of battle, it would die back down. And I,
Depending on where you were at, because
mm-hmm,
they had specific ones, like Shinra had its own battle
yeah,
song. It
yes,
was a Shinra battle, and it was perfect because it had that ooh, doo, doo, that in the background woven in with the original battle, and you're just like, you don't feel like you ever left because it was the Shinra. Because in Shinra building, you have that music, which is, I mean, we all know that music. Then you have the battle music. Well, they literally, you would hear it and then it would start the battle, and it would, as you would say, it would amp that up, but then it would just weave in the battle. And it literally seemed like it was meant to literally be there
yeah. Well,
perfectly.
and what I like about it is that it's so seamless. It's so seamless in the way that it's done that it's not jarring. They wanted to do it to where, the music just wouldn't change like with a new scenario or with battle or with anything like that. That it would be dynamic and that it would roll into it. They described it as kind of like a DJ mix. It's like when you hear a DJ mixing and doing stuff, he's not just like, okay, yeah, flip this thing over, now it's a whole new thing. It's like he's going to find a way to transition. And so they really try to find and develop a sort of an AI into the programming. It's just like, what are you doing? What is your input? What do you like? Or did you go into a battle? Did you go over here? Did you leave this? Did you go do that? And it'll adjust the music accordingly. And I think that's perfect. I mean, there's so many different, as we said already, versions of these songs. But then like you'll be rolling into, like when you and Aerith are going to go to Sector 7, and you have to take that little detour, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's that one song that plays in the Sector 5 slums, um, in the original game. Dum 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 dum.
Yep.
And once I'm like, every time that like a familiar tone would come
I'm
in,
with you.
and almost the exact same way, I would be like, God, this is how. Yes, no, like I was.
There's a couple of things I want to add. The victory song, which you only hear during certain things, but there is a reason why
Oh.
you almost always have to keep this one character in your party because he does it.
He-
The first time he did it, I had to stop.
Oh, dude.
I had to stop, and then it was like I have to play with you more. So then I just ran around and did a bunch of random battles, so I could hear him go. "Da, da, 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 da,
Barrett
da."
will do it. Whenever you beat a battle, the characters have like, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe more
Little
sayings.
quips.
And sometimes it's a quip where somebody responds to him.
Oh,
And
so one person only has those quips during that specific time,
mm-hmm,
and you know what I'm talking about, right?
um, the one with Aerith.
Yeah, the church
Yeah.
when they're coming from the church.
Um, what I liked is that there was like as you progress through the game and the dynamics between the characters change, and because obviously they're different from the beginning than what they are later on. There's more trust. There's more like you know got your back and all that kind of stuff. And like someone's Cloud says to Barrett, "We make a pretty good team." Barrett's like, "And who'd have thunk?" you
Yeah,
know, and I love that little stuff. And it's like you'll be fighting along and Cloud and um like Cloud will be like, keep those fists up,
yeah.
for
Thanks,
Tifa.
Coach.
Yeah, thanks,
Smart
coach.
ass.
Yeah,
And a very smart ass.
yeah,
So
I
since
like
we're
that.
going on this, I definitely want to segue into Aerith because, as we know from the game, the original game, Aerith is this sweet but kind of quirky individual. Now in Advent Children, you see a little bit of the quirk, but not very much. In this one, they really took that quirk and they really expanded on it.
Yeah,
The best thing about it is when you're going through and they have the three conversations back to back that matter is when she's like, I wonder why they're attacking us. And he goes, well, they usually attack the weaker enemies. Then the next battle, they all attack only her. They do not attack you as Cloud. They only attack Aerith. And then she go, huh, that was strange. He's like, what? Well, they attack the stronger enemy. And it's like that stab right at him. And you're just like, wow, she's a little snippy.
so
And then her cursing the
let's
first time.
so let's segue into the characters, and we're gonna
Okay.
talk about. We're gonna try and stay away from major spoilers for some of these, but we're just gonna give our thoughts pretty briefly on the characters. Cloud, what'd you think of the characterization of Cloud in this?
Absolutely perfect, except for one thing. Jesse catches him smiling. That is the only, but if you really look at it, he's not smiling, he's kind of smirking. And she goes, is that a smile I see? No, no. Like he instantly like rebuttals, no, no, no. But
I actually like that a little bit because it showed
yeah,
Cloud getting a little comfortable with the people.
yes,
As you go through the game, especially when you go through like a certain side quest for her. But for Cloud, now they recasted everybody. This isn't the voice cast from Advent Children. This is
right.
a whole new thing, and I thought the guy that did Cloud did it
Spot on.
Yeah, no, it was. What I like is that Cloud comes off a certain way in the original game, whereas like when you watch Advent Children, he's very down.
Mm-hmm.
He's very like Cloud's kind of in a dark place. He's not here. Cloud's a dick sometimes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
But that's his cockiness from his quote unquote battle training.
well, exactly. Yeah, he's kind of standoffish, but like I thought he was like he said things that he would have said in the original. He came off pretty accurately, and there was something. Oh gosh darn it! I had something that you said right around the time they said that that she caught him smiling. That I'll come back to it, but the next character, I already
It's
know.
got to be.
I already know how you're gonna react to this. Barrett, what do you think of Barrett?
Let me put it this way. In this specific area, there are two characters you have to get right: Cloud and Barrett. Because Barrett is so naive and preachy during the Midgar thing. Absolutely perfect. There is nothing I would change, and they added more structure and dynamic to his character by making him afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And and later on, he is literally a lumbering moose. When they do later on, when you do the inevitable pillar climb, he is absolutely terrible when it comes to maneuvering. And it actually, they do a really good job of putting that into the gameplay as well. Where when you use him, he's very slow, and his dodge is about half of anyone else's.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No.
his character's preachiness, you couldn't have got it any better. No way.
What I really liked is that for the portion of the story that this game covers, they kind of accelerated a little bit of his growth, kind of, from the original game. It's not here in mass, like he doesn't go from point A to complete point C in this, but there's little twinkles and aspects of it where you actually get to see that there's more depth to him than just the preachiness, than just the loud mouth, dude. And that comes across as you start going through the game a little bit.
In one specific section where, as you have stated to me more than once and twice, that moment really tore your heartstrings.
It did.
They didn't just pull them; it tore them.
It did, because like it was a different take on the scene from the original game, but it was the same. They're getting the same thing across, but he's not. But Barrett's not telling Elmira that, like in the original game, about like how he wants to be with Marlene all the time, but he can't, and then he's just kind of going in circles. And in the remake, he's telling that to his daughter. He's trying to get her to understand. And then, no, like it was just pretty. That is twice I smacked my damn microphone. God.
But regardless, there's no way that you could say that I would want to tweak his character any more than they did.
No.
I think it's absolutely spot on and perfect, especially for what we portrayed in this section of the game. Now, when we get to Golden Saucer, I want to see that change proper. Because you saw a hint of it with Marlene.
Yeah.
Where you caught him just for that moment where he really had a trouble. He fumbled his words a little bit, and he was trying to explain to her why.
What I love,
that was beautiful.
When it comes to Marlene, he's a pushover. Because early on in the game, where he's like, she gets scared.
It's time for bed.
Yeah, good little girls go to bed on time. And she goes, but I don't want to go to bed. I want to talk some more. Okay, just this once.
Yep.
And it's
one thing to add to that. Go ahead. No, you finish, because mine's actually later on in the
game. Cloud scares him, but Barrett gets right up and kind of confronts Cloud, like, what are you scaring my daughter for? And he's just like, and then I love it because when you talk to him afterwards, he goes, let that be a lesson to you. He goes, when you go talk to kids, you can't be giving them the professional killer eyes. It's like, I loved it.
He's great. Now, the one part that I was a little disappointed for a while until he finally did it, where he puts her on his shoulder. That was like, thank God, that had to happen, because it shows it in the game where he does it, but it's blocky. And you don't get like a frontal view. It's up above, and you just see him pick her up. But when he puts him on his muscle, and he's holding her like that, I was like, "Oh, that's perfect."
I know.
Moving on.
Tifa. What'd you think of Tifa?
I think Tifa was great. There are I have a little bit of gripes about her character model. As of her personality, perfect. Her character model barely showed any actual emotion to what was coming out of the mouth.
I don't know if I agree with that. When it got really deep and like she was really upset, like there was at the pillar.
Yes.
that sold me. But one thing about Tifa that I really liked was how quickly she took to Aerith, and how you can really see that their relationship kind of spawned like how like in the original game you always get the hint that they're very friendly with each other, but then like you're kind of wondering, well, like how did they ever get really close? And this game is going out of its way to kind of show you how quickly Tifa kind of attaches herself to Aerith and how passionate Aerith kind of gets about some things, and Aerith wants to help.
I want to add something right before you continue. Where Tifa, they're at the Dons, and Tifa's like, "Who's that? What's your relationship with her?" Like she's on it. Like, what is her? Why are you with her?
Mm-hmm.
Why is she here? And then the next scene after that, they do something together, and it literally they just go, and they're there. And then that relationship goes, but for a brief moment, Tifa's like, "Who's she? Why are you with her? Where'd you meet her?"
There's a couple of moments in the game where you kind of sense that there's jealousy from Tifa, but then also in its own weird way. And I'm not saying that this was overtly purposeful or that they're trying to convey this. Like, there's a few times where I thought maybe like, does Tifa have the hots for Aerith too? Like, yeah, there's a few times they had some interaction. I was like, that maybe okay, like, but that's the kind of that love triangle thing between them, and that's kind of what I feel like the original game lacked a little bit of, was that understanding. Like maybe there is some sort of like actual feeling with Tifa and Aerith towards each other, but it's not like overtly stated like, oh, I'm into girls. It doesn't really have to be, because it doesn't have to be on that level, but there is something there, which would then make sense as to why, in the original, like, and then in Abbott Children, like Cloud and Tifa end up together. Not to say that like Cloud and Aerith would have ever ended up together, but like Cloud and Tifa had that history behind them. They had all that thing going for them. They have a lot of baggage, but then like they both share that loss of Aerith together. And if you have both of those characters have such a deep emotional connection with Aerith, that's yet another notch, another piece of carry-on luggage in that baggage that these two characters have to get over, because they both try to deal with that in their own separate way, which we'll hopefully see in some sort of manner down the line. But for Tifa, I actually really dug her characterization in this.
Like I said, I really liked it, but there was only a few moments where I'm like, she seems sad, but it's not, her facial expression doesn't match. Like it's very blank, but then like you hear the emotion coming from the voice, but at a certain point it's blank. Only a couple of sections.
There was one of my favorite scenes is the very first time when Cloud says, I mean, it's been 5 years, right? And Tifa goes, huh? Oh, yeah. There's that one little notch of, huh? Like, then she's like, okay, no, I can't. He thinks it's been 5 years. It's been 7. What the hell? Okay, fine.
And she just thinks that she mishears him and just continues.
Well, either that, or she like actually knows, but she thinks something's off with him.
Oh, she knows.
So there's something off, and she's not sure what it is, and that's why she kind of wants him around. In the original game, it's just hinted that like, oh, he did that job and he's going to go far away. Now we know that he's there to fulfill his life as a merc. He's only going to be there for a while, and he's going to move on. He's going to do his thing. And
he only stays there the next one was because Tifa was in a bind and he has a flashback. That I really like that.
That was different, the way that they did that flashback thing about him remembering. I really liked it too. But we'll talk more about that later. Aerith, what'd you think about Aerith's character? We've already kind of talked about it.
Perfect. I think it was perfect. I think that may be a little bit too snarky, but it works for what it is because he comes off as kind of a dick to her all the time, and she's like, hey, you need to soften up. Like, these
Yeah.
people aren't going to attach to you unless you soften up. So she gives him that snarky, smart ass stuff back to him, but it's all in. You can see that it's kind of like her doing this, like ha ha ha, punch in the shoulder, like
Yeah.
get it, and in this, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was going to talk about the fight, and
dude.
and then he's just like, huh? No, he's like, no, I'm not doing that. And then when he starts to actually go to
The
do it,
third one, the third one, he's like, ah, and she's like, wait, what? And he's like, never mind. And
no,
she's like, oh, don't worry, I'll get it next time.
yeah. What
It's perfect.
what I really loved, again, adding to what I said about like the connection between her and Tifa. Later on in the game, they do something together to help somebody, and what do? They both look at each other and they do a double high five. Like they're
Yep.
immediately these two people are on the same page. Obviously because Tifa is much more not like closed in and everything like that. So I thought Aerith was great.
I thought that they were great. I think that let me put this in here because it seems like I'm being very nitpicky, and I'm saying, oh, I don't like him. That's not the case. I'm only picking stuff out because I'm wanting to pick stuff out as an overall character. I thought Aerith was almost perfect. I think Tifa was almost perfect. I'm being very nitpicky just because it's stuff that I've realized over time. Like, maybe I personally would say there should be more emotion, but Aerith was perfect, especially the first meeting. Oh,
Yeah.
Tink, you like just ring the bell because you hit it perfect.
Slight spoiler here. We already know he's in the game. Red 13.
I love whoever does his voice. I don't know who it is.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure who it is either.
Bland, monotoned. It was perfect because he's just like, I guess I can do that.
But but he strikes a balance too because he's not completely tone deaf. He's
Yeah.
just he's like he's pulling back. He's holding back. He's trying to
Yes.
portray, as we know with the original game, Red 13 is trying to portray himself not to be a youngster,
Yes.
not to be a kid, where he's trying to fit in here, and I felt like they,
To us, though, he would not be. He would be older. But
yeah,
in his species, he's actually quote unquote a teenager.
right, but I mean, it's just about how you act. It's like he would act like a teenager would, and
Mhm.
he's trying so hard not to portray that. And so there's a bit of a facade, but I absolutely loved his portrayal. We already know this isn't a spoiler. He's not a playable character. They've
Right.
already said that from the get-go, and that's because you get him so late in the game because of the placement of the Shinra Tower.
Hey. Hey, Red.
Yeah. Oh man. Yes.
Dude. Perfect. Perfect.
Oh. Dude,
Anyways, there's a scene
that whole scene,
to tell you guys.
that whole scene cracked me up. Like him and Barrett were trying to move stuff out of the way, and Red's lifted with his head. He's lifted.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got a super soldier over here who can
Who's fighting? Yeah.
He's fighting, but still. And Barrett goes for the.
What's he say? He's like, "We make a good team, Red."
And he puts
his hand up, and Red and looks at him, and then he spins around and he flaps him with his fire tail.
Well, because it looks. Yeah, because it looks like he's reaching like, give me paw, like he would for your dog. And he's like, what the hell, Red?
Just that was a perfect moment in that because it's very tense, and then he's like, "All right, we made it. Let's move on. High five!" And Red hits him with his tail,
Yeah,
which is on fire. What the hell, Red?
I love it.
Perfect.
Well, next
Let's add in the other ones. We missed a couple.
Right.
Biggs,
Biggs,
Jesse, Wedge.
Yeah. What'd you think of their characterization here? Because they actually did a lot more with these characters than was originally done in the original game.
A lot more. I love Wedge. He's one of those people that he wants you to love him.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be friends with you. And then I love Jesse's dynamic because she is in the game. She is originally an actress that turns,
Mm-hmm.
and only because we find out later that's a kind of a spoiler. We won't say that, but she turns, but she continues to act. But she also has a little thing for Cloud, and her and Biggs's conversation,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like, "Biggs, you're not even on the same page. You're not even in the same book as everyone else." But she's like, "Oh, Blue Eyes over there. Oh, I see what you're doing. What? I mean, what's the first thing you notice? Looks, and he ain't bad to look at.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Well, and so obviously Biggs has something for Jesse that's not reciprocated,
Oh yeah.
on that level. And what, like you mentioned that, she was an actress. Well, she got an actress job or an acting job at Gold Saucer as the lead, which could
Mm-hmm.
be the princess lead for the play that they do in Gold Saucer. And Jesse's not there anymore. She left. And now, so then they, when you possibly go on a date, you'll be doing that play that
Mm-hmm.
that she was the lead actress of, because on special nights they'll bring people in and you'll get to play those parts.
Right.
But I really dug Wedge. He's a cat person.
I love Wedge,
he gets distracted by all these cats. He's so funny.
and I love his thing with food. His
Yes.
obsession with food.
Yeah.
I'm on empty. We'll get you food later, Wedge. Just complete it. I just want to let you know I'm on empty.
I love their dynamic together, and as I said before, that they added so much to their original characters because you don't get to spend a whole lot of time with them in the original game. But
Mhm.
now since they've extended this story, you do get to spend a lot more time with them. Even a whole chapter is dedicated to you spending time with these three characters.
And only those three
Yeah,
characters.
and I dug it. But Marlene, we touched on Marlene, and most of the kid voices were standard anime Square Enix, a like a young female actress, doing a little boy, like pretty much kind of like what I would imagine Dragon Ball, like the girl that does Kid Trunks. It's like you can almost kind of tell that's not a real. But her voice almost sounded like Disney quality level good.
Oh yeah.
Like I was not cringy with her voice at all. I'm like, wow, she sounds really good. That's what made me buy into that scene that we'll talk about later with her. But I thought she was done very well. Let's talk about
All the voice acting was perfect,
let's talk
in my
about
opinion.
yo no I agree. Let's talk about the Shinra folks. Um, what do you think about the representation of the president? Since we don't get to see a whole lot of that in the original game, we only get a couple scenes.
I really like that it shows how intense and how much better they think they are.
Mm-hmm.
It really comes off as that, especially Reactor 2. Well, it's not Reactor 2, but the second reactor you go after. I just want to make it clarify. The second reactor that you attack, the way he acts and talks, awesome. Until the end of the game.
We're gonna have a visitor here probably in a few minutes, so just so you know, somebody wants to come back and say hi. He hasn't been on the podcast in a while. Um, but,
Okay, that's fine.
But Heidegger, I really liked Heidegger. Like Heidegger's a piece of shit. He
Yes, he
like
is.
he was a piece of shit in the original game. Like he's very dislikable.
Reeve was.
Oh
You see the conflict
yes,
immediately.
yes. In the original game, it takes a while for you to understand that he really wants to do a good job. Hey, buddy.
Hey,
How
Hi.
you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Can I get up here?
Yeah, you can get up.
I'm gonna get up here. Let me up here.
Yeah, but don't be talking too loud into the microphone, okay?
Okay.
Don't get up right on it because it can hear you. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great.
Oh, he smacked.
Well,
He's chip off the old block. He just smacked the microphone too.
there's Spotify and YouTube right there.
Yeah, yep. Our podcast is available on Spotify and YouTube, as well as Apple Music and Podbean and iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and TuneIn.
We do it Apple Music because we just find my iPhone.
Yeah.
An iMessage.
Don't
Yeah, that's a thing.
try not to grab the mic, okay? It's very sensitive.
Whoa.
What's
What
up?
is that right there?
What's what?
Right there.
What? This?
Yeah?
That's my monitor for the computer. I got this computer and I got a monitor over here to help me out.
Oh.
Who's Daddy talking to?
You're talking to Mike.
And what are we doing?
We're doing the podcast.
What podcast?
Dancing Just Talk to Mike challenge.
No. What podcast are we doing?
Talk to Mike.
No. Well, yeah, but what's that?
Game Addicts podcast.
You got it, buddy.
Podcast is the.
And what are we talking about?
We're talking about Final Fantasy.
Which one?
Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're so
We're
proud.
talking about
You're
the
so
Game Addicts podcast Final Fantasy VII review.
Yeah, good job, buddy.
Look at that.
Woo!
Yeah.
This is woo.
This is woo. Who says
This is-
woo?
Ric Flair.
Ric Flair says woo.
Whee! Can we tell you something, brother?
Is that Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, brother. Yeah, we're
You
talking
can't
about.
see me.
Oh, you can't. Oh, is that John Cena? You can't see me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
What
that-
But with the coronavirus, you can now see John Cena.
That's the PlayStation, and that is the controller.
Yeah, that's
Well,
PlayStation and controller.
Why does the boppy pillow in here?
Because I was using it the other day.
Oh, that's one of your pretties, and that's Toad.
That's one of my pretties, and that's Toad.
And Batman.
Yep.
Batman.
Where's Batman at?
Oh yeah, up there.
Oh.
And there's the wrestling today.
Is that the Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, that is. Well, like I saying, we have seen every single movie listing. The
What?
the Batman Lego movie.
Oh, we've seen all the Batman movies.
Yeah. Just like Finding Dory, we have seen that one a lot.
Yeah.
Why is the Spider-Man picture off?
Oh, because I took it down because I got this stuff over there. What's this stuff from? Do you know that one?
Yeah,
What's that? Is that from?
the from
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
What is that?
is from
Dragon Ball?
Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is here. One of the things I didn't know.
I know. Well, but
Wi-Fi is right there.
Wi-Fi is right there.
Yep, we got Wi-Fi. We are recording a very special episode of the podcast, talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and we're doing a review. And we've been recording for almost an hour and a half.
Oh,
We got a lot more to go.
And we're not even
Yeah.
close to the.
We haven't even started talking about the story yet.
Nope.
Main story. But Bubby, I love you, and can we say goodbye now?
Goodbye.
Say thank you for
Bye.
listening to the podcast.
Thank you for listening to the review.
Well, yep.
Thank you for Final Fantasy VII from the Game Addicts podcast.
You're right.
and thank you for
Yeah,
the
You're right.
podcast.
You're right. Thank you for Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
You are right.
Say bye. Say
Bye,
bye.
bye.
Say bye, old Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Wyatt.
He says bye.
Bye.
All right, I love you.
And I like to listen to my favorite song is Perfect from Ed Sheeran.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're not gonna get back up here because we already said bye. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta get back to the show. We got a lot more to cover. That is Daddy's Zoom.
That is your Zoom. And
Yeah,
this
all right.
is the heater.
Look at him. Go.
Shut the door, buddy.
Close the door.
Love you, bud.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Yeah. Anyways.
He's a ball of fire, dude.
Oh yeah.
He literally he gets so the thing is that he gets so excited to actually talk. It's not just like on the podcast, but like when he sees somebody he hasn't seen in a while, that he just starts rambling. Like he's just like, I have to tell you everything going on in my life right now. And so a lot of the times he just goes, my favorite song is this. He goes, I did a puzzle the other day, or like it'd just be like, all right then, yeah, cool. Anyway, we were talking about Shinra, and we talked about Reeve, and like you said, the original game, it takes a lot longer for them to really tell you or like get the message across that he really does care about the people of Midgar.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
We got the bathroom scene in disc 1. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people know because in the original game, you don't sneak in, do you? On the first disc, do you go through the air ducts in the first one?
Yes, you do when you go
Oh,
into
you
the.
do. You're right.
But
Yeah,
Barrett goes, and in this one he doesn't.
right.
He's a little too big to fit into that hole.
I love it. He's looking up at it. And he's like, "So, it's like you're on guard duty, right?" Like he doesn't even argue. He's like, right.
But
Because he's just like, I'm not gonna fit. There's no way I'm gonna fit.
no, Reeve was really well done, and I also liked how there's a moment where when you're in the ducks, you actually can listen down to some other conversations and some other
Yes.
boardrooms, and the group that works under Reeve that are talking about possibly reconstruction are saying, "Look, we got these numbers. He's in the meeting right now. We're going to talk about this more after that meeting." And then
They wanted 3 years, 5 years,
10 years.
10 years.
And
they wanted everyone to be ready to what we're gonna do.
I like that. That was so much
I
more,
love it.
more deep. What do you think?
One thing to add to that, one thing that Tifa mentions is it's hard to remember that regular people work here too that are fighting for us.
Yeah.
Because she hears all this, and then she's just like, you know, these are real people.
Yeah. These are real people who aren't evil and greedy. They have a job. They're making a living, and they do care about the people. They do care about the city, and and it's not that they're like, we want to suck the planet dry of Mako, and we want all the money. It's like, no, these are living, breathing, everyday people, and
I love
it. It's very easy when you're being an activist and you don't look at the people that you're affecting. Quite like
you
that.
only look at the company. The company as a whole is terrible. Everybody that's a part of this company, and Barrett says it perfectly, but also imperfectly. Of like, at a certain point, you have to understand that you work for somebody that is this bad towards everything. You're just as at fault, but that's not the case because there is only, and technically in Midgard, there is only Shinra.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
You are working with Shinra, or you are at the bottom of the barrel.
Shinra is as much of a piece of shit as they say they are, if not more. They are a fascist company that has taken over. They are they are greedy as shit. They are underhanded. They are everything bad that you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
But even possibly a person who's even worse than the company itself, Scarlet. Scarlet.
I was a little disappointed because you didn't see very much of Scarlet.
No, Scarlet and Palmer, you didn't get to see a lot of them.
I do like Palmer's. First time you meet him, I love the thing with Palmer. That is, as I've said it to you in text messages, I feel like this game, the storytelling of it is poetry in motion.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it is almost as perfect of a game as I could have hoped for. Yes, there are changes. It is not a one-for-one. But I enjoy that because it, as we've both stated, it keeps the integrity of the real game.
The only thing, like you say, especially with Scarlet and Palmer, and with maybe some of these other characters, you don't get a lot of like Reeve. You don't get a lot of time with them because their role at this point in the overall main story is pretty limited. So we get to see them and see that they are important people in the company, but we don't get a lot of explanation. They did add more scenes with Reeve, which was good because that needs to happen.
Yes.
That seed needs to get planted here. Meanwhile, Scarlet's going to come into a much bigger role after the shakeup of the company.
I just wish they would have shown more of her in her production of the equipment, because basically all those major machines were designed by her and Heidegger. But it always seems that Heidegger is the only one that created them.
Heidegger, he's the one in charge of the military, essentially, where she's in charge of R&D. Oh well, she's in charge of military development. Meanwhile, Hojo is in charge of R&D, and they got Hojo's maniacalness down to a T.
Oh my goodness. He never fully smiles. That half snarky, teeth grinning
Mm-hmm.
smile of pleasure of somebody else's freaking torture was perfect.
Please note that a large majority of the monsters that we fight in this game are all created by Hojo. They're experiments. A lot of them are. You know, like a lot of the things that we fight in the slums are stuff that have been augmented, experimented on, like those smog machines. You know, like those one thing, like that's stuff that they worked on, and Hojo worked on that, and those weird, like all these different experiments, all these different monsters have been injected with stuff, and
the first Shinra dog off its leash.
Mm-hmm.
That was his experiment to create a more aggressive. And I like the way that it's explained too, because later on you find out why it's there.
Yeah,
I love it. It does such a good job. It does such a good job.
The last for the I guess not the very last, but the last we'll talk about for now, Turks.
I loved it. I loved that Reno. I love Reno's character in general. They literally took Advent Children and dialed it up.
Yeah.
And then I also liked Rude because he's a company man.
Yeah.
He's doing his job, but there are lines he doesn't cross, and they show it. Like at a certain point in the game, I hope this isn't really considered a spoiler, where Reno is getting ready to attack Tifa with the machine gun, and Rude swerves out of the way so that he misses.
Yeah,
and he's
because
like,
they're in a
the hell was
helicopter.
that, man? And he just sits there all blank faced.
Well, no, he's like, my hand slipped.
My hand slipped. But he sits there blank faced, like
Yeah.
my hand slipped. But but we know that his character is not inherently evil. Neither is Reno's, but Reno doesn't have a problem with doing it, but his conscience does later on. So to do it, he does it, but later on he feels really, really bad about stuff that he does.
And that was something that they added into this, because in the original game, that's never really gotten across at all for Reno. He's more of like a devil may care, I don't care type of dude. And then in Advent Children, you get to see a little bit more of him as a person. They kind of like softened him up a little bit. And they did that here, and I really like it because there's a scene, of course, after big events in the game where like maybe they feel guilty about something with Sung, and it's like so like your conscience is having a problem with it. Yeah, well, it should ease your conscience that somebody else didn't have to do this. That's our job. Our job is
Sung is a company man.
You know, our job is to carry that burden. So that should ease your conscience. And Reno's like, doesn't. And I like that because it does make it to where not everybody in Shinra is a completely hardened evil person. I loved a lot of the little twerks. Rude, the very first time that you fight Rude, which this is added in because Rude isn't introduced until the Shinra building in the original game,
right?
And you don't fight Rude until like way later in the first disc in the original game. But when you fight Rude in this game, you break his glasses, and then he takes off his glasses and instantly puts on another pair of glasses.
There you go.
And then there's a thing later where like you think, holy shit, you know, maybe Rude didn't make it, and his sunglasses are laying there, and Reno picks them up, and Rude steps behind him, and he hands him his sunglasses, and then puts them back on. I loved it. It was great.
They did such a good job because he is all about his glasses in the Advent Children.
Mm-hmm.
So they turn that into this, which is perfect.
There was a callback to Advent Children too when you're fighting Rude. When you fight Rude, and right after the fight, his phone rings. And what's his ringtone?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
His ringtone is the victory theme. That was
that it was in Advent Children.
Well, it wasn't his theme. It was one of the one of the brute Sephiroth remnants that Tifa fights in the church.
Yeah.
But it was just a cool little callback to that. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
I love that. And then He never says a word in that conversation. Reno literally just reams him.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'll be right there.
So that there's one thing that I was laughing about as I was playing the game, and you can watch if you watch when I'm running around the slum, Sector 7, Sector 5, and I'm just running, and everyone's going, huh, 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 what?
Yeah.
Huh? And it literally, since there's so much dialogue that loops, and the game is trying to keep up with me, there's so much. I'm like, this is literally the most grunty game I've ever heard. It was just a constant. As far as characters, what's left to really like Don Corneo
Was awesome.
Was a big role in this. It got to see him twice instead of once, like in the original game. I really liked his portrayal. I thought it was pretty accurate to the sleazeball that he is. All the way through, even to the second part of the quest, I thought it was great. They added a bunch of new characters that were never in the original game. The first one,
but they work very well.
Yes, no, they all fit in very seamlessly. Marl, the older lady in Sector 7.
Yes,
she's like the landlord of the apartments, and she pretty much says that Tifa's the granddaughter she never had. It's like,
and is up Cloud's butt.
Yeah,
about you take care of that girl.
Yeah, exactly. I actually liked her character. There was a few others. Leslie. Leslie is a character from the original game that they've expanded upon. Mm-hmm. Leslie literally looked in like the reimagining of Leslie in this game. Of course, he is like the right-hand man of Don Corneo. He looked literally like he was a character from Final Fantasy 15.
Yes,
with the hat, with this, he looked literally like copy and paste. They clicked a character model from 15 and dragged it over here. One character that we only got to see twice, that we'll probably see more of going forward, is the soldier, Roche.
So I was a little upset about that because you only saw him those 2 times, and that was it.
I was waiting for him to show up again, and he never did.
I was waiting for it at the very end. Not the very, very end, but the highway scene.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for that to be your final fight. Or leading up to the final fight, but it wasn't.
No. But there's one character we haven't talked about yet. And, well, actually, there's 2 characters. One is a massive spoiler because they are multiple. They're not necessarily a character more than they are a story aspect. But Sephiroth. What did you think about this game's portrayal of Sephiroth?
I thought, personally, I believe they captured his portrayal almost perfectly because of what the story ends up becoming. At first, I was just happy to see him.
Yeah.
To be fair. The second time that you physically see him, I love that. Because it pulls into the first time Aerith and Cloud meet. I thought it was very well done. At first, his visions of him invading his mind was unbelievably perfect. Because it was like he was doing something normal and boom, he was completely unconsolable. Wasn't even in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And him up to the point where the story kind of changes was perfect because it was him probing his mind to see how far he could manipulate Cloud. So it kind of was like that arbiter of what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah.
And him testing his abilities on somebody that actually has full control over the mind, because in the other one, the reunion, he has full control over those people. Most of those people don't even know who they are 90% of the time. But Cloud is aware that he is alive and moving. He's not aware of who he is 100%, but he's aware. And it shows him. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he's not even aware that he's not even aware that himself. Well, yeah, because he is being drawn by the reunion too. That's why you're following him. It's under the premise of we have to stop him. He's a bad guy. But in all reality, Cloud is still following along with the reunion like Sephiroth wants.
Yes.
Just like all the other guys are that are like, this guy are sick. But it's like the same thing here, because when it gets to when he pulls so hard, Cloud goes nuts and he loses it. Just like in the original game that we see, we don't get to see that to that extent. Usually he fights it off, but it's not until in the original game when you get to the Temple of the Ancients where he loses control of himself completely.
After the death.
Well, no, that's before the death. No, I'm talking about the temple.
Right, you're right.
When he gives Sephiroth the black materia, and you see like the little kid version of Cloud. Stop it! No, don't! And then what does Cloud do after that? He starts beating on Aerith. He loses control, and then who's with you at the time jumps down there and knocks you out, like boom. And then you wake up later, and then the next time that he loses control is at the big altar scene in the original game.
Yeah.
Where all you can do, you can't do anything other than participate. And what are you doing? You get your sword out, and you're going to kill her. Because that's what he wants you to do. And then he breaks it, and he's like, what do you... No! And all right, fine, I'll do it myself. And does the whole spiel. I thought those scenes in this game, oh my gosh, nerd boner.
They're perfect.
Nerd boner.
Oh, yeah.
Complete nerd boner for me.
The playground scene to me was the first playground scene, because there's two.
Yeah.
And the second one is with Tifa and Barrett, but the one with just him and Aerith, that son of a bitch. I was excited to see this scene in the way it was, and her like, come on, let's go. Why not? Blah, blah, blah. And then when Jenova strikes. Perfect.
What's interesting about the game is that they do the same effect for like Jenova piecing together Cloud that they do with Aerith and her reaching out to people, where it makes you think like they're connected, but it's not. Because for a second I thought it was. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell?
But it also is showing that there are, in the original story, and you're going to correct me because I'm probably not going to get it perfectly right, that the Ancients and Jenova do have a ability to link with the world, but the Ancients have a more understanding and ability to understand everything that the planet is telling them, where Jenova just goes, I can feel your life force. I feel what you could give me.
Jenova is more of like a mind control, a symbiote type thing. And it seems like the Ancients could connect with other people through that same similar connection they have with the planet. And we see that 2 different times in the game. One with Marlene and Aerith, and one with Red 13 and Aerith. That you just like, it calms them down.
Or they're unconsolable.
Or it's like they are concerned, they are afraid, they are violent in Red 13's case. But then the moment that she connects with him, it's like he understands on a more, okay, no, this is who she is, this is what they are. And it's like instead of them saying no, calm down, let us explain, she just places a hand, and it's like instantly, okay, okay, I get it. It's like really like on a psychic level. But we have now kind of arrived to the story as a whole, and I'm not sure how you want to do this. If we could just, because we don't have to go through every single beat, we could talk about our favorite parts, because I wrote down for me that the story is a love letter to what came before, with near tear-inducing moments recreating the scenes from the original. That follows a very similar beat that deviates to do side quests and expanding the world with a bigger setting for the slums and Sector 7 plate. Deviating later way more, like we've already mentioned, with Biggs and Wedge and Jesse during Jesse's side mission. And also I want to note that as of right now, we are going to go full bore with spoilers. So if you want to hear nothing else more, we have done our very damn best because there's one big story aspect we haven't even mentioned at all.
I broke that, but I want to pull a mic.
Okay, pull a mic.
You know what that is?
Up. We haven't had one of these in a while. Mikey can't hold his bladder. Thankfully, his bathroom is right next to that. But I want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening to this podcast, and hope that you guys are enjoying this game as well. And everybody has their own opinions, but me and Mike have thoroughly enjoyed this game. There is not much to gripe about at all. And but we hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and will hopefully subscribe on all those podcast services that were mentioned earlier by my son, as well as YouTube. And my playthrough of the game is on YouTube as well. The other final 2 parts will be uploaded. It might be around the same time as this podcast is. They might be right shortly thereafter, but they will be there. So like if you don't have the chance to play the game and you want to see it, you can watch me play it if you want and see my gut reactions. I don't talk a whole lot while I play games. I usually wait for a lull in the action, and then stop and try to just express my thoughts. There were some episodes where I sat there for almost the whole thing and was pretty quiet just playing, and only talked at the beginning and at the end of the videos. So yeah, go check that out if you want. And it's there. And welcome back, Mike.
All
right, welcome back.
You're welcome.
But there's gonna be spoilers from here on in. There's massive spoilers for the entire game. We're gonna freely discuss story aspects. We're gonna probably go in some semblance of order. We're not gonna just retell the story, but the first thing that I really want to talk about is something brand new to the story, and that's Jesse's side mission. We've touched on it slightly, but essentially, in between the 2 main reactor missions, Jesse asked for Cloud's help to go and procure some items, and Biggs and Wedge go along, and that's the first introduction of the bike scene. They actually introduce it here to kind of get you familiar with the concept before laying it on you later. So you get to do it here, and there's actually a trophy for doing this and getting a compliment from Jesse afterwards. I missed it.
I got that. She said, "What did?" I think I got a little thing afterwards.
Nope. You and me, as far as trophy alerts, there's only one trophy you have that I don't, and that is the squat. I did not do all the squats. Yeah.
I did the pull-ups too.
I didn't do the pull-ups. I didn't even get to the pull-ups. But what did you think about this big side quest? Because I thought this deepened the setting, the lore, these characters. It literally made me more invested.
I really enjoyed it. I also like the way that this mission actually had a secondary motive, and Biggs and Wedge didn't know it, but they did.
Mm-hmm.
So they just didn't mention it. I really enjoyed it. I took the time. I don't know if you did, but I looked at everything you could in in his room and her dad's room.
So Jesse wants you to steal her dad's Shinra identification card, her ID card, that thing. And he was a maintenance worker at a reactor, and there was an accident, and he has severe Mako poisoning. And that's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, holy crap, he has Mako poisoning. And there's only one thing that I missed. It was maybe I don't know what it was. It was some papers. And
they tell you that paper thing, it just says, we don't have time for this. There's papers on the floor. There's papers on the desk. You touch them and it says, I have to get back. He basically says, don't. So everything you saw, if you said that's the only thing you didn't see was the papers, you saw it all.
Okay. Because there was the invite that she sent them the invite with the tickets to her play. And after her dad gets sick, that's when she abandons being an actress and becomes an activist against Shinra and the Mako, and learns.
Which she never really actually gets to act.
No.
Because that was her first one.
Yep. she's still living the facade of being an actress to her mom, who has been basically just caring after her dad this whole time. And her mom doesn't even know that she lives in Midgar, like underneath. She thinks that she's just visiting, and because she's trying to convince her to move back and get an acting gig down in Sector 8. Hey, you can go
in the theater.
yeah, just go down there. And she's well, yeah, kind of like, well, I don't know, maybe.
And you're still a stagehand. You shouldn't be a stagehand
Mm-hmm.
for these people.
Yeah, and the thing is that like they're in there eating dinner with Biggs and Wedge, and of course Wedge is eating up all this pizza. He's loving it. He's like, oh my gosh, yeah. But
And then like 30 minutes later, he's on empty.
he's on empty. But what I like is after you leave, you're walking with Biggs and Wedge, and Biggs kind of alludes to her to her father.
Why she is who she is.
Right. And then he goes, no, I won't say. You don't care. And Cloud's like, no, I actually kind of want to know what's up. He goes, well, don't say anything to Jessie because because how she gets a little punchy about the subject. And he goes, well, no, I want to know. And Wedge is like,
all bets are off the table. All bets are off the
table. And Wedge says, no, seriously, she'll kick our ass, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. But you actually get to find out a little bit, and Cloud is starting to actually start caring about these people.
You see the connection starting to form with Cloud, which is awesome.
Well, especially when he sees that, and it's something that he personally, even though he's hiding that part of himself, or the part of that's locked away, he understands it.
Mm-hmm.
He sees that. He gets it. And so now he has some sympathy with Jessie.
Doesn't he have a flashback right there with... he does. He has a flashback. And that's the first time he has a flashback of Crisis Core with the reactor in his hometown.
That and it's like him being in the tube. Him being in the test tube, or like the little chamber. So, yeah, no, I really love this whole scene. And of course, it starts with the bike chase. That's when you first meet Roche, and you do that little fight with him. And then it goes to the warehouse, and you do the fight with Roche again. But what I really loved is that they've expanded Avalanche past this Barrett cell. That was a resurgence of Avalanche, and to him being a much bigger presence, and that now Barrett's group has been pretty much ostracized from the main group due to them being a little bit more extreme.
Because of President Shinra's, whenever they attempted on his life, he came back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
And they were like, we got to step back. We've got to take our time and go in again. And Barrett's like, no, we need to go now.
Right.
So they consider him an extremist group.
Yep. And so they don't get a lot of support from main Avalanche cell. And that plays into the story later on too. Where do you want to go next after this? Because I
want to do Aerith, the first meeting of Aerith.
Okay.
Because I really like how they did it this time around.
So did I. I thought it was great.
In the original game, she officially meets him from the fall in the church.
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, that's not the case. Basically, she is walking around with her flowers, and you approach her on the street after the bombing of the first reactor. You're all alone. You're making your way back to Seventh Heaven, and you see her fighting off this invisible entity. And basically, he just shows up. But what I really like about it is it doesn't just show up. He has an attack where Sephiroth invades his mind immediately. And him literally putting his hand on her shoulder and just smirking at him gave me that tingle of oh my God, this is amazing. And then her doing the hey, are you okay? Which is from the original game, was beautiful. I thought that transition was it hit everything I ever wanted to see. It was perfect. And Sephiroth, who is fully aware of the entire situation that they are in, is poking the bear. Essentially, he is poking at Cloud to move a certain direction. And I like that because you see that's the first to me, like it's not the first time that you see him manipulating Cloud. It's actually the second, but it's the first time you really can see Sephiroth face to face talking to him and trying to poke the bear. I love it.
The the things we haven't talked about, those invisible things that we haven't mentioned yet, we kind of did with the whispers because we didn't know what they were. We don't you don't find out what they are until like the end of the game. You but once you are told kind of what they are, you start piecing it together because the first time you literally see a glimpse of them is within the first moment of the entire game. They're there from when Aerith is in that alleyway. And the whispers are essentially time cops. They are things that in other words, there are things going on here. This is what is it's being controversial to some people on the internet because the game kind of swerves you at the end. That this
it is actually a remake, not a remake of the original. It's actually a remake of the situation of Final Fantasy VII.
Yes, because
which is crafty, by the way.
It is different. It is different.
Very good way to use the title in more than just it's a remake. It's actually a remake, a reimagining of actually what could happen.
And I use this analogy where it was like what they did with what J.J. Abrams did with Star Trek 09, where he goes, I'm going to make a movie about the original Star Trek Enterprise crew, and instead of just going back and redoing a version of that story, I'm going to use the timeline that already existed, involves some time travel, send Spock back in time, and now he is there. Now he's there as an old man, and he's there as a young man. And it changes the timeline and creates the Kelvin timeline. So, like, you have the original Star Trek series. It is what it is. It carries on through with the Picard series now. Now you have the movies, which are the Kelvin timeline, which are similar but altered. Essentially, that's what they did here without so much timey-wiminess. It's weird because it's like, does Sephiroth have the ability to control time per se?
See, that's the thing is I don't think that anyone has the ability to control time. I think that they are aware of him and Aerith.
Yeah.
Are the only two that are actually aware. I think Sephiroth is 100% aware of every action that's ever been taken in the original timeline. And he is, because, another spoiler alert, you don't fight Sephiroth as Sephiroth. Or you don't actually see Sephiroth as Sephiroth. It's always one of
the clones.
And what's awesome is at a certain point, you think that it's Sephiroth, but it's actually a clone. So in the original game, when he kills President Shinra, you only see the sword.
Yeah.
Well, one, he never leaves his sword anywhere. And in this one, he does kill the president in a different way, but it's not actually him. Well, it's an extension of him.
Well, That's it's kind of the same way in the original game, because the person that you're following across the continent, the Sephiroth that you're following, is pretty much one of those clones. It's a
but it's not shown 100%.
no. You don't actually.
It's assumed.
Yeah, no. It's assumed, and you pretty much put that together at the very
Yes.
at the when you get to the Northern Crater, and that's where his physical body is.
Yes.
It's like, and all these different clones are walking there. It's like all these different apparitions and manifestations of Sephiroth are done through different ways through the power of Jenova, and because Jenova is a shapeshifter, is like a shapeshifter, and all these different clones have Jenova cells inside of them, and
Right.
so it's just we got to see that in the first real physical form of that we got to see that of was in Advent Children, when the remnants got their hands on what was left of the remaining Jenova cells,
Right.
and then instantly they were Sephiroth was able to manifest.
Which I love that, because it shows that he has the knowledge of Advent Children, which happens after the events of Northern Crater. Was it 5 years?
2 years
2.
for Advent Children.
So he now has all that information. Now it's only assumed to us that his physical body is at the crater the whole time, but it's never really 100% clarified that you only see Sephiroth in his final form when the reunion begins the first time.
So these whispers show up each and every single time that something starts to deviate from the original story plot. As I said, we see them from the very beginning, and Aerith, at the beginning, only Aerith can see them. Cloud doesn't get to see them until she touches them,
which is right after he meets her.
Right after he meets her, and the thing is that the reason why they're there is that they are talking too long. She's not supposed to be there when the Shinra troops show up, and they talk too long. And the things are pushing her. Go! You need to leave because you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
You know, Cloud isn't supposed to be right here yet. He's supposed to be over there. He's supposed to be at the train station because he goes to the train station. He gets there, and then he ends up having to get on a different way. And this one, things block his way. And also the other time that they show up is when Avalanche decides not to have Cloud go on Reactor 5. They said, nope, he's out. So then they show up and they start attacking. And what happens? Jesse gets hurt. Jesse can't go. Wedge can't go because Wedge has to stay behind. They need somebody. Tifa's in a bind. I'll be damned. Story thread continues, right? Just like it almost autocorrects itself. And then when the next time that we really see them is when Tifa, Aerith, and Cloud show up to try and stop the destruction of the pillar of Sector 7. But they get there too soon. So if they get up there now, they might be able to stop it. They're not supposed to be able to stop it because this is destined. So they are delayed long enough. But the thing is, they still change stuff. This is where its fate starts deviating because Wedge doesn't die. He's able to save himself. And then what do Wedge and Aerith do? They try to evacuate people. And they actually succeeded that. Less people die in this version of the events than in the original game.
Right. Because in the original game, all 50,000 people are dead.
All of them.
No, nobody survived.
Yeah, no. If anybody survived in that original game, they don't show it.
Yeah. It is unsaid, but it is assumed that
they are all dead.
Nobody knew the plot.
Yeah. And
it just happened. Other than at that point, the 4 members of quote unquote Avalanche.
Right. They interfere later on as well. But it's like every time that they do so, they're trying to stop the events from deviating. And we're going to talk about because we're already kind of deviated because from my notes there are some things that I wanted to say about certain parts.
We'll go back to that. We'll just
Yeah.
say that
We're-
that's the Whispers are destiny.
They are destiny. We learn that they're the arbiters of fate. They are trying to keep things on track. They're not our enemy. They're not our friend, because there is something that happens on the top of the Shinra building that is 100% deviated.
Mm-hmm.
I was floored when this happened.
I couldn't believe it. I thought, holy crap.
So we know that Sephiroth kills the president, and he does so here, with the sword.
In a completely different manner.
Sure, but still stabs him.
Yeah.
Still stabs him. It still happens. Then he instantly stabs somebody else. Barrett. And I'm like, huh? Now, what I like about that, if you know anything about the creation early on of Final Fantasy VII, the Barrett was the original character who was going to die.
Mm-hmm.
It was, there were only going to be 3 characters in your party the whole game. It was going to be Cloud, Aerith, and Barrett. And midway through, Barrett was supposed to die and sacrifice. And then you were going to have Cloud and Aerith and possibly a replacement character for Barrett. But when they did that, I was like, oh my God, what? Huh?
Yeah.
And then I believe you have to do the Genova fight right after that, right?
Yes, without Barrett.
Without Barrett. So you're with Tifa and Aerith and Cloud. But then it's revealed that, like...
And Red 13 is actually fighting as well.
Yeah. Yes, he is. Because Red 13 is he's a guest character who does fight and will heal you on occasion. But you can't control him and you can't do anything with his equipment because they didn't want to give you a new character so late in the game that you didn't have a lot of time to really get with him, which I understand and respect that. I think it would be kind of cool if only on replay runs that you could use him in the battle arena. I think that'd be badass.
I also really like the fact that they said that you weren't going to be able to fight with him.
Yeah.
But then they made it to where you could fight with him. Yeah.
Well, like they said that in a way that made it basically mitigated the letdown of you wouldn't be able to control him, because it is a slight letdown, but I get it. But after that fight with Genova, it's revealed that one of the Whispers basically took that blow for Barrett.
Yeah.
Or healed him or did something. Made it to where he didn't die there because he's not supposed to die there. That is not his fate. That is not his destiny. So they pretty much said, no, now's not the time. This doesn't happen. Sephiroth did that on purpose. I think he did that on purpose to see what they would do. Like, are you going to allow this?
He was already under the standing that they were already interfering with the way things were, and that's why early in the game he uses them to cover his escape on certain things of him, like talking to you, and then them pushing you away. But then they're after him in certain parts, and he cuts them down. They're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And he intervenes further because they're trying to prevent him from telling you what's going on. So he basically calls them all off and then doesn't tell you, but tells you, things will be different this time. And then pulls back. And then you don't understand what's going on. And then in this moment, he kills Barrett. And then when Barrett comes back, you see him later on smile at they're there. You can either go this route or you can go your own route.
Mm-hmm. Now, the thing is that I think he was seeing what they would let happen because they seemingly allowed Wedge to live for a certain amount of time. You find out that Wedge catches up with the group. Wedge does survive Sector 7. They insinuate that he doesn't when he goes back for his freaking cats, which I'm like, oh, he went back for the kitties. But then you actually go back, which is a deviation from the original game, where you actually go back to Sector 7 to help find survivors, and you find that underground Hojo lab, and you work through there and you find Wedge, and he's barely alive. And he gets nursed back to health and joins the crew at the Shin Tower you find out. I'll go ahead and say this here. The Shinra building was like 7 pluses for this game. As far as like, I love the gameplay. I love the characters. I love story. I love the setting.
I think one floor is 7 pluses alone.
I loved the propaganda tour, because like it changes the aspect of that original you going through floor by floor, and basically, they made it like you're a guest and you're getting like the museum tour of President Shinra, the gold statue, like almost like Saddam Hussein type style statue of like President Shinra and honoring him, and he has that like that golden gun that he whips out. Oh, that when he whips that out later with Barrett.
Oh yeah.
Oh, when he's begging for his life, and Barrett could drop him and basically end him, but Barrett's not. Barrett at the very beginning of the game would have done it. But the fact that Tifa is there, Aerith is there, Cloud's there, he's like, all right, no, I'm not just going to drop you. I want to. Trust me. With every fiber of my being, I want you to die for everything you've done to this planet and all these people. And then he's like, we are the protectors of this planet. We're the protectors of these people. It's like, so all you want to do is be exonerated? And then he grabs his pistol, and it's like,
right.
And that's the difference between you and me right here. But anyway, no, that Shinra building is awesome. It's that museum tour, the theater.
Which the Cosmo Theater.
Yes, essentially, because this is the same.
It's called the Cosmo Theater.
Yeah, well, it'd be because this whole technology was created by Bugenhagen that we don't even he doesn't work with Shinra anymore. But I assume when we get to Cosmo Canyon and we get to see what he has created with his like solar system type thing, I assume in the next game or whenever we get there, we're gonna be given another theater section that is done in the exact same style, but not with Shinra's propaganda. Because oh my gosh, like
that moment wrecked me, because I was just I literally, this is me, mouth all the way to the floor, just. And then, as I told you, I really wish I would have saved before I walked into that room, because if I had have, I would have stopped my gameplay right there and went back and watched it a second time. Because it was so good.
That is one of my favorite moments of the entire building, was that room.
Oh,
I just like you. I wrote, so my notes were, the Shinra building is like 7 pluses. The propaganda tour, the theater, wow. I wrote wow. That's all I could say. I loved. So which way did you go? Which way did you go into the building? Did you storm the front, or did you take the stairs? Did you
can only take the stairs.
Well, it's the stairs or the elevator. You could choose.
I took the stairs.
I took the stairs too, because I always take the stairs like in the original game, and there's so many funny things that they say. And they pretty much said them all verbatim, and then some with this. With Tifa is the fastest one going up. Barrett's like a floor or 2 below. He just keeps talking.
and he stops. No, I took the elevator. I did take the elevator. Because I did the elevator. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I did the elevator. I thought you were talking about the part before that.
Well, no.
The very opening of the building.
No,
when he walks in.
No. He says, "Let's storm the building," and then they're like, "Well, why can we take the parking garage?" So they added that, and then then they're like, "All right, let's take the stairs, or do you want to take the elevator?" Stairs are less chance of getting caught, and then so I took the stairs, and it's absolutely hilarious.
I took the elevator.
It's absolutely hilarious, but he's like, Barrett's complaining the whole way. At one point,
so this is perfect, because I can tell you what they did on the elevator. So you finish yours, and then I'm doing the elevator.
So at some point, Barrett's it's like floor 50 or floor 47. Pretty high up. You're almost there. He goes, "Man, screw this. I'm going back." And Tifa's like, "Do you really want to climb back down all these stairs you just climbed up?" All right, I guess I keep going. And he goes,
here's go ahead.
He just keeps talking. He's just like, "Hey, what'd you think Wouldn't you think this, like, if these stairs could talk, what would they be saying right now? It's like, the stairs talking? Why don't you ask the stairs? And it's funny because he's just huffing and puffing the whole way. And at some point, like, the game will only let you move so fast.
Right.
And Cloud slows down and Barrett passes him. And then Barrett ends up slowing down and Cloud passes him back around. It's like, I don't want to see another set of stairs for as long as I live.
Funniest part about the elevator. So you get the elevator, you get in, and it stops at 20. And at 20, it's security team. Well, Cloud like bursts out and like, knocks him out of the way. And then you have an engagement. You fight. And then Barrett's like, oh, man, I just can't get lucky. And then Tifa's like, man, you know, and then the 30 happens. It's a personnel. This is where Tifa, like, they stop. The lady looks at him. And nobody moves. They're just like, and then the doors close. She doesn't get on. The doors just close. And Tifa goes, you know, sometimes it's hard to forget. It's hard to remember that regular people work here too. Then, next floor, 40. It's another security team. Barrett breaks out, knocks everybody down, engagement. You go back in. And they're like, and Cloud's trying to tell everybody, hey, we're beating him fast enough, nobody knows, and that person didn't say anything. Later on, the mayor says something. But then the next one opens up. It's a dude on his phone. And he walks in, never even notices there's a person in there. He turns around, hits his button, goes up to the 45th floor, or 50, whatever, gets off, walks off, and they're all like in the back, pressed up against the back, like looking around at each other, looking at this guy, and he never even notices them. Gets off the elevator, and they're all just like, well, what are we going to do? And Barrett goes, we should have taken the stairs.
That's awesome.
And I love it because, I didn't know that you could pick another one. I just went straight to elevator and went up. That's just what I did.
Next playthrough, take the stairs because
I'm going to now
because it's funny.
That's awesome though.
But the other thing that in the Shinra building that I'll say before we get to the get to the big spoiler end is that one soldier. There's a soldier early on in the game that recognizes Cloud.
Oh yes,
oh.
That gets a 10 out of 10.
And then that same soldier sees him in like an HQ when you're going through the rec center, and because you get helped by Mayor Domino. Like the original, the mayor's kind of like grumpy, like I'm just a librarian, which I love the new library. It was awesome. It was
awesome.
But it's also revealed that he is a inside man for Avalanche.
Yep.
It makes him more of an actual important character, and I loved it. I thought that like this is a good twist. I like this a lot. And, you know, he helps him in like you got to find my guy up on the next floor. He'll help you get to the next floor after that, and that's when you do the battle simulator at the rec center, and they pretty much have like their version of Starbucks in there. You know, you can go buy items and stuff there too. But like that same soldier is there, and he recognizes a Cloud. He goes, "Hey, it's you!"
And it's to be fair, it's not a soldier. It is a Shinra.
It's an infantryman, yeah.
Trooper.
Yeah, trooper. Yeah. No. It's not a member of soldier. Because he's like, whoa, hey, you know, I mean, you know,
we all thought you were dead.
He goes, but I thought there's no way. Because dude, I'll go get Kunzel, and Kunzel is from he was Zach's buddy in Soldier from Crisis Core. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
It was perfect.
Like it's just a throwaway line, and it was great because it just showed you how much work and care they put into trying to thread in all the stuff that they had done before with the original story. And make it a much bigger world, and they just put it into this one.
One thing that I believe that the Whispers also allow them to do is to give you those big moments in this game that you would not have gotten in this game if it was a 1-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
You see the Materia Holy fall from Aerith. You don't actually physically see what happens. You see her drop holy.
The Whispers give them visions of what's to come. Like with Red, when he sees a vision, they all see a vision of him running with his grandkids or kids or whatever.
And they all see it, not just him.
Yeah.
Everyone sees the same vision.
And like, what was that? Then they see Meteor. They see
the Meteor one was amazing. It stops you dead in your tracks because it's perfect.
Yeah. I was floored by that. And of course, then we see the other stuff. The reunion, the little flash forward of the reunion.
Yes.
The reunion at the Northern Crater. The Aerith's dropping the holy after the certain thing happens to her. Like, this is your fate. And Sephiroth knows that if these events continue like they do, then he's going to be defeated. And he can't have that.
And one thing that they do add in to that, which it's them as they're starting to change their fate, they see Zack's battle.
Yeah.
And it's a turning point in history for this timeline, for what we have gathered, the internet has gathered. It's a point of the timeline where Zack dies. In Crisis Core, Zack dies. In this one, though, it shows him fighting. He's like, well, would you look at this welcoming committee for us? And that's what he says in the other one, but then it stops. And then for you as a player, you actually get to see the Whisperers circling around. But then as you beat it at the end, it has a different outcome. So when we went into the Whisper realm, the realm of fate, whatever you want to call it, I was a little leery. I was like, okay, this is the first part of the game where I'm not okay with what's going on at this very moment. And then it kind of starts giving you the other stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is a way for them to tell us what's going to happen. But then when they change what's going to happen, big spoiler there, by the way, they basically change the possibility of what the outcome is.
Mm-hmm. Because
I hit the floor.
Well, because you have two characters in Sephiroth who knows more, and Aerith who is establishing her understanding of it.
Right.
She's kind of the one that kind of pushes us to go do it.
She opens the door because it's first. Well, technically, she changes the door's location.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because Sephiroth opens a door to fate, and he said, "If I can do this exactly right, which I'm going to be off." Basically, he says you can continue your fate. So he gives them an option of, if you walk through this portal that I've created, you go in. That's your fate. You will go out as fate has dictated. It was a choice, but it wasn't a choice. He knew Aerith would change it.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. Because he has the ability to pass through, but I don't think he has the ability to completely change it.
See, I don't think he does either, and that's why we fought the Arbiter of Fate and defeated it and defeated the Whispers, because
that's why he's there at the end and he's smiling like, "Thank you."
Well, because what does he do? He tries to kill them.
Yeah.
Because if he kills them now, guess what? They're no longer in his way.
Yeah, and he can.
And that's why we get that boss fight with Sephiroth at the end, because he wants to stop them and kill them.
Let me stop you right there. That fight. If that's how they're going to do Sephiroth, but harder, that's the way he needs to be. Because he's supposed to be the legend, the god, the best fighter that the world has ever seen. And he fucks your shit up. Hard.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Hard.
He beat me twice. He beat me twice. Because
I beat the first time around, but it was a long fight.
Okay, so the first time I was so enthralled with it that I missed the menu queue. When you play the game, you'll get a little box, the square button. And if you hold it, you can access your menu before the fight.
Oh, I didn't do that. I missed that.
You will it will give you that opportunity anytime that you switch characters or have a thing that like it'll switch stuff up for you. That way you can get your equipment and your stuff ready to go.
Yeah, I missed those.
I
I
missed it.
never even got 'em.
I've seen it before, and I activated it, like especially like around the Rufus fight. You know, that way you can get Cloud set up, just like in the original game where it'll say, "Hey, do you want to do your menu and stuff before you continue?" This one is more subtle, and if you miss it, you're kind of screwed. I was screwed because Aerith had my cure materia. I didn't have another one, and so I was relying on items for the whole fight, and I only got so far. He beat me. The second time. Sephiroth has 3 phases. Four phases technically. You have your one-on-one fight with Cloud. You have your 2-on-1 fight with another character comes in. For me, it was Tifa, but it was still kind of the same fight. And then you have the third character comes in. He amps it up a little bit, and so that's technically, I guess, phase 2. Phase 3 is when he's going all out and he's using hitting hard moves, and basically, on the second time I tried, when Tifa came in. He kicked my ass. Like, I could not block him. He was just hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. Like, the first time around, it wasn't that bad. Second time, I was like, ow, 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 ow. Because I knew that I set my materia up for Barrett to have my heal, which is because I found out Barrett was my third. Okay, and when that's why Aerith had my heal. You know, she was in the boss fight with the Arbiter of Fate. And Barrett needed my heal, so I put it on him, knowing that last time I made it through the first 2 things fine. It was no big deal. By the time Barrett gets there, then I need the heal. All right, so the third time around, it was fine. He got to the point where he was going to do his ultimate move and started counting down, and on my third time, and I'm like, this can't happen. This can't happen. This can't happen. Because I knew if he hit that move, he was gonna one-shot me. I knew it was gonna happen, and I'm like, I'm not losing again. And I got him. It starts at 5 and 4. I'm like, boom, I beat him. I'm like,
I didn't get that.
whew.
I got 10.
Oh, 10. What? Well, maybe it counts down from 10 then.
It starts at 10, and I got to 7.
Okay.
Before I finished it, but I also had 2 limit breaks on the verge.
Okay, no, I didn't have that.
Literally, it breaks it up into stage 4, which is countdown, and he's like counting down 10, and I was like, no limit, and like I went full bore. Everybody was doing everything they could, and I did Aerith's healing Wayne, and that obviously that's going to heal you for almost all your health, and then Barrett was it maximum
Fury?
The Fury was up, and then Cloud had just hit limit right before that, and I was like, limit.
I am sure glad. I bet you're sure glad that I told you about getting those level 2 limits when I did.
No idea. I was gonna I was fully already on my way to the Coliseum. Like when you text, I was already going to the Coliseum to do them, but I didn't know that's where you got them from.
And it's lucky that I said that. I mean, you might have done it, and you were going to do it, but what if you were like, you know what? Maybe I won't do it. Maybe I'll just do it later. And then you wouldn't have got those limits, and then you would have been hard pressed.
One thing I do dislike about the limits, you get in the original game, Barrett's ultimate one that you normally use.
Yeah.
Because there is 4, which is they're considered their ultimate attack, but in the original game, it's only a one-shot other than Cloud. Now, the ones before that, which is Catastrophe for Barrett, is I don't know, it's like 12-hit shot or something like that, where it can max out. If you have max damage, you can max out at like over 100k damage. You get that as the second one here.
Yeah.
So what is going to be the next 2?
I don't know.
And we get a completely different limit for Cloud.
Yeah. Like it's not Omni Slash. It's called Ascension. But it still hits pretty good. But what happens is that by defeating the Whisperers, and then you beat Sephiroth takes Cloud to the brink of creation.
which is phenomenal.
Very similar to the very, very, very end of
Yes.
FF7, where you have that, and they do this little same showdown, but Sephiroth basically says things from here on are going to be different. They're not going to happen the exact same way. And here's the one chance you can help me. Don't be my enemy, be my friend. You can, and he extends his hand to him, and
which never would happen in the original game, because
No.
in the original game, he obviously wants to control him. In this one, he's like, I'm going to lose. I already know I'm going to lose. But what if I have Cloud, who already has Genova cells in him, to help?
I can try and twinge and twist him to my way, but if he does it willingly, I won't have to rely on that so much.
Right.
So but Cloud says no, hell no, and then he's like, all right, then you got 7 seconds to do what you will. And what's funny is that somebody online timed Omni Slash in the original game. It takes about 7 seconds to pull off. So if we get this a reunion of this scene later on, those 7 seconds are going to be the Omni Slash.
Also, I want to add, before you continue, one of the moves that Sephiroth does,
Octaslash. Yep. What's funny is that isn't that like something that is a move in Crisis Core with Sephiroth's DMV or whatever it's called. The when Sephiroth's thing comes up, I think
you can have him do Octaslash.
Zack will do Octaslash, yeah. Anyway, so it's heavily implied that Cloud uses that 7 seconds somehow to save Zack, and that's why he doesn't die. And I don't know if that's true, but obviously Zack doesn't die, because then we see that little scene of they're in the exact same spot of where Zack passes by and he doesn't die there, and Aerith can sense that he's not dead, and it changes that part, and we don't know what happened to Zack to have Cloud have the Buster Sword and be where he is and still be acting somewhat kind of like Zack in some ways. So now we are going into part 2 of this in a completely different base.
Also, to add to that, when you watch that scene, I lost my shit when Zack was walking back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, it's Zack. He's still alive. Holy crap. But it pans and he's looking at Midgar, and you as the player can see the whispers, and they shatter, and it shows like glass flakes falling from the sky, which transitions back to Aerith, and it starts raining. And she says, I really miss the steel sky. Because she liked being in the slums in Midgar.
Yeah.
And it made her feel safe. Why would I ever want to go out and see the world? I love the transition, because it implies that the reason why she was upset with why she didn't want to leave, and she states the first person she ever loved.
Yep.
You're just like him. Like who? The first person I ever loved. And then Genova kicks in so he can't hear it. That was poetry. It was just seamless, perfect. There's, to me, you done fucked up, Square. Because this is a level I believe every game you do should be.
Well, okay, because like there are a lot of people who really don't like the fact that this is a pseudo sequel now, like a different reimagine. Like the original timeline, FF7, Crisis Core, Advent Children, all that is still intact. They and I, to an extent, I understand, because they don't want to mess with that because it was already so sacred to people. But to do a completely, and on one hand, if you would have done this game as a complete, like with very few changes, it didn't absolutely change the overall story by messing with it, I think more people would have been like, this is the best game ever made. But because they were bold, to do this takes balls, in my opinion. It does take guts to say, we are going to mess with this and not just tell the same story again, because while on one hand we are going to try and give you everything that you almost want from this to be able to say I love this from a nostalgia standpoint, for us to just tell the same story again is not as interesting to us as creators and storytellers. It's like, why not pay homage to what came before while sharing a love for it, but also now anything's off the table kind of. It's like, what if?
Well, a thing that they said, and when you're really now playing the game and really understanding the conferences they had, what they said, how they said it,
Mm-hmm.
as he said, we really want to make this now. What it would be like now, not then to be remade to look like now, but now with all the timey-wimey. I mean, how many TV shows do you know? I can name almost all of the big sci-fi ones. They have time travel and separate timelines woven into them. Almost everything out now does.
Well,
they took that and they kept the integrity of the original story, kind of. And then in the end, they flip it upside down.
yeah.
But is it really flipped upside down? I don't think it is. I think that it's going to be them trying to say that it's different, but certain things have to happen.
Certain things will happen the same.
There's no way they can take it away.
What I don't think what some people are saying and that this is their excuse to be able to have full creative freedom going forward. I think what they did is that, and bear with me, this is me just theory crafting here. Their version of the Whispers, trying to keep the timeline intact, is a representation of us as the players.
I agree with that.
In that that the party choosing their own fate is, in a sense, them casting us, the players, and our expectations aside. It's like, now this doesn't have to be, but it kind of will be. Now what we want to do is have you have more questions than answers. And that you're worried about what's going to happen going forward. That's why you're going to play the next one.
I agree. I really like that because I think that as a player, as this being my number one game of all time.
Same.
The original. I love it because I get enough of the original that it's the same but different, because in my mind what I do is that I take all the events that happen, excluding the Whispers, and plug it into the original story. I take all this Jesse stuff, the big stuff, Wedge.
It's extra. It's so much.
All extra to add to the original, but now I have a new story that's going to take place. But as this story takes place, it doesn't take away from the original story. And you as a player can sit there and go, well, yeah, that totally happened originally. But the outcome was this.
We didn't explain that the Whispers, like Wedge shows up in Shinra building, and the Whispers attack him and essentially lunge him out the elevator shaft.
And we hear a crash of window breaking, but we don't know.
We assume that he didn't die in Sector 7. Now he's dead, and that it's almost like a Final Destination type thing.
Yes.
But not only did we see that Zach supposedly survived that early part, but we saw Biggs supposedly die in Sector 7, and that he is at the orphanage or at that place in Sector 5 recuperating. Like they have found him, and that he was.
I loved the fact that you had backstory where he was a helper of the orphanage.
Yes, yeah, so did I.
He was essentially Aerith helping the orphanage out.
Yeah. So, where does this rank as? Like, first off, I'm going to ask, like, does this game replace the original for you?
No.
I don't think it does for me either. But where in your, like, now that this is a Final Fantasy entry, because it's a sequel of sorts, reimagining of sorts of 7. Where does this rank on your list of Final Fantasies? Is it pretty much right behind 7, or does this?
Okay, so I'm going to say this, and this is kind of bold. 7 is, as we've stated every time we've had a podcast about any of this stuff, 7 is my number one game.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is above it on 1 because on entry 1, I'm saying entry 1 because I combined their story together, like I just stated.
Yeah.
So I view the game as the game of Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I also take everything that happened, excluding the Whisperer stuff, and I plug it into the original 7. So I have these two stories that are the same story but different. So I say it is literally either parallel. I say it's parallel with 7 because it's 7 to me. It's still 7 is still 7. But 7 Remake is 7 Remake that adds to my 7 experience.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? And that's exactly how I'm viewing this too, because knowing that there's so much controversy and negativity for a lot of fans saying that they've ruined it or they ruined this chance to recreate the original, I am adding this to my experience, just like with Crisis Core added to my experience of 7, just like
Yep.
how Advent Children added to my experience of 7. This game, or plural games, right, can never replace what that original game did for me in gaming and did for me as far as getting me online with storytelling. It won't. It can't, because it can't. But it can't erase those memories. But what it can do is add more new powerful memories while pulling on those heartstrings that I've already established for that original game. And this game did that in spades. It did that so much. There are several times where I teared up, getting choked up, the plate falling, Barrett breaking down.
Oh my god.
That scene in the original game is so well portrayed for just these little characters and for that little bit of smoke and smolder that we see and Barrett losing his shit. And oh my god, it was so well portrayed here.
I also you only get a full view on the aftermath. Now, when I say the aftermath, after the fires have gone out, after people have been saved, now you can physically do a view of it yourself, which I already know you did it. There's no way you didn't, because it's such a pivotal moment
When
in
you're
the
climbing
game.
up to the plate with the ruins, and you get to see not
Yeah,
only not,
before
well, right,
there's two separate things I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the plate falls and the fires are burning and
yeah,
Tifa is standing there looking over the edge, but you don't get her look over the edge. You
Mhm.
just see her absolutely flipped out. But then you're trying to make your way off the platform to the zip line. That scene, I stopped, stood where she stood, and looked over the edge, and saw the flames and the carnage. And then when you come back on your coming back to the Shinra building, or going to the Shinra building, not coming back, but
yeah,
initially going to the building,
you get to
they
see.
have that scene where they stop you and they say, "Would you look at this?" And Barrett's like, "Look at this. Look what they have done." And he's like, "This is the reason I want revenge." He literally states right there,
It's like,
"I'm gonna burn it to the ground."
no matter what we did, no matter what was done before, they pulled this trigger.
Yep.
Yeah. No. This game is, man, it's going to be hard to sit here and tell you that this is on my top 10 because I want to replay it and I want to redo it. There's a lot of really good games in my top 10, with 7 being number 1. But my experience with this game was damn near religious. And
Yes.
uh,
The nostalgia of you walking into an area and them doing it. The Nibelheim theme song that pops up for 10 seconds. You just get that chill of that's the original song. It's not deviated from, it's the original.
I know, that's what I was talking about earlier, about how like they have so many songs that like are deviated or a little bit here, a little bit there, and not the exact. But then there's ones that are like exactly the, like, you just know it, you know, and they did it.
Those moments. And you sent me a thing of the girl that plays Aerith,
Mm-hmm.
that voices Aerith, where she said that she wasn't a big gamer, but she understands in the original, and one of her things, she says she understands the impact Seven is and what Seven is, the original, and how important this remake is to the world, not just gamers, the world, in storytelling and how important it is. And then her playing it for the first time, never hearing the stuff put together. And you can hear Era's voice in her voice when she laughs and cries. I mean, you can, but she starts crying because she knows how important it is and like how perfectly it unfolds in her mind. And she states it's better than I would have ever predicted, period. And that's only the one scene, which is the first scene with Aerith. And just imagine those listeners, if you're not a big FF7 fan, think about something that you absolutely love 100%, that you just, and in its entirety, you love it. Not just, I love it, it's fun. You love every aspect that's ever been of that game. And then them giving it to you and giving you more so that you feel those strings. Like you have those parts where, like, when Aerith dies, that string pulls hard. But now you have it where the nostalgia strings are being pulled constantly. And then you have these three characters that you think are dead, like Jessie dies. You never would have felt that way for her if it wasn't for this game.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and
so
they kind of faked you out. Perfect. They kind of faked you out with both with Wedge at first, but then with Biggs too. Like, I actually kind of cared about Biggs, especially when you leave and you learn about his, like, he was a big part of that orphanage and helping these kids, and you're like, oh wow, I got more respect for him now. And then the next time you see him, he's on death's door,
and he says, will you help them?
Yeah,
I used to go there, will you help them? I love it. Yeah. It's so good. The whole game is so good. And as I've stated, I expect something like this. Like, it's amazing that they saved everything. Like, basically, Square Enix saved every perfect thing that they had for this moment, for this game, to pull a story together, to make you feel the way you felt. I felt like they did it absolutely seamlessly, perfectly. The very end, when you got the actual whispers and the hands of fate being changed, when I got there, it didn't feel like it was supposed to be there, but that's the feeling. The feeling is that this, you're not supposed to do this. You're supposed to go through the story as it's being told, and they alter it so that they can tell a different story, but on the same journey. And I enjoyed that, but at first I did not. When we went into the realm, I'm just sitting there going, this what is this? This isn't right. This shouldn't be happening. But then it does, and then you see all the stuff. It was done very well. My problem is that I expect this quality every time now. This is what I expect, because
I really do.
This game is unbelievable.
No, this is a much better put together game than Final Fantasy 15 was.
Well, that's not hard to do.
But I mean, like, the thing is that there are a lot of people who are saying that, like, the ending of the game, that they want them to, like, almost like the Mass Effect 3 thing, change the ending. No, we don't want this. And I say no. They took a risk in an era where it's ballsy to take these kind of risks, and I feel like we're now on a journey that's going to be very, very, very fulfilling, and there's no way that when they make Final Fantasy whatever the 7, whatever the next iteration, part 2 or whatever, that they're not going to be able to put all the things like on the story beats that's going to pull us on the nostalgia level.
I mean, you're going to have the same places.
Mm-hmm.
Almost the same things are going to take place, other than their knowledge of. They don't know. I think the thing is that people are misinterpreting is that you see them change the wheels of fate. But did they really change the wheels of fate? Because we don't know. We only know that Sephiroth allowed them to enter the door, basically to go into the hands of fate to change it. The thing is if you remove that entire scene from the game, what has changed? nothing other than they know that Sephiroth knows. Technically, Cloud knows that Sephiroth is now aware of what happens and can change fate. But as up to that very moment, nothing's really changed other than Biggs surviving.
Yeah.
Which we don't even know if he does or not, because he could play a game in the next one where you never see Biggs again, but you just see story with Biggs doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So when you really look at it, it says we changed it, but we haven't actually changed it because those characters are not aware of their choices prior to. They
Right.
only know what the outcome would have been.
Well, and we also like more people surviving a Sector 7, Marl becoming a figure of leadership, trying to rebuild. You saw like we aren't gonna we've already interfered with fate, and things aren't gonna go like exactly like they did last time. It's not gonna be so bleak, but I think the story is gonna get kind of bleak because it has to at some point, because they have to have stakes to stop Sephiroth from his meteor.
And you have to have sacrifices.
Yeah.
And my thing is that we don't know if they ever went back to Sector 7 and rebuilt. But in this game, we see they pull out the seventh heaven sign.
Yeah.
It's all damaged, but they pull it out. They clean up the place. People are moving back in and living there. We never got that in the beginning, but they never mentioned it again. So that's what I feel like people are really jumping to the conclusion of this game's going to be different. I feel like it's almost going to be exactly the same, other than a handful of stuff.
Time will tell, and I'm excited to see it. I truly am. I think just as I've already said, I think we got an experience of a lifetime to be able to revisit this world in the way and through the eyes of the newest generation of consoles in a way that we've never been able to do before, and I'm forever thankful for that. Whatever comes,
I really wonder what the open world's going to look like.
It may same here. I don't think it's going to be open. I think it's going to be we're on a journey. We have the different areas that we go to. It's going to be interesting for.
It's going to be more like Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
When you're traversing the world, you actually have an area of the world that you can traverse in one big block, but you have to still be on a linear path.
Yeah.
It's the what do we say? It's you believing you're in an open world, but you're not. You're going down a path we've set forth, but you feel like you have the ability to maneuver around the world when you really don't.
Yep. Well, I think it's going to wrap us up for this episode. We are pretty much, we hit the mark, man. We are at 2:57.
I told you it's a 3-hour one minimum.
It is, man.
And to be fair, we've cut it down a lot.
Well, because we've already talked about stuff before when we really shouldn't have. And so we did, cut some stuff out. But really, I got no major gripes or negativity to say about this game. Nothing.
Nope.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. The only thing that was negative to me was how many people were being negative about it, because it's like, and everybody has their own opinions. Everybody's going to have their own. Somebody's like this, the whole ending took it from an 8 out of 10 to a 4 out of 10. I'm like, it really dropped it down that much to you?
I don't think it was even an 8 out of 10. I think it was from the beginning all the way up to that point. It was by far a 10 out of 10.
Dude, like,
if you're telling me that this game to you is an 8 out of 10 up to that point, you shouldn't even fucking play the game. To me, it's a 10 out of 10, period.
This is one of the best game Square's made in a long ass time, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah, it drives me nuts when people are like, oh, it was only an 8 out of 10. What is your 10 out of 10? I want you to tell me and show me this game that you believe is a 10 out of 10, because when you talk about a full story being told from beginning to end, if it is your first experience with 7 or your 150th for us, from point A to the Whispers, it's a 10 out of 10. If you can convince me otherwise, I'll believe you. But as a story is told, it is a 10 out of 10 up to that point. I will 100%.
I think this game is a 10.
I think it's a 10 out of 10, period.
I think it is a 10. But Mike, thank you for joining me for this podcast. I really do. I always enjoy being able to talk to you. I know that you've kind of stepped away and doing your own thing. But I really, we always said, hey, no matter what, we're going to get back together. We're going to do this.
This is like one of those things that regardless of where anything lies, we have to come back to this point because this is,
Yeah.
I mean, as you said, this is a premise that started the podcast.
It not only started the podcast, it started our friendship. So
yes,
and that's definitely going to continue on, and we're going to be back here every single time that we're capable of doing. Each time we get a new one of these, we're going to be talking. And
yeah, I could not start my second playthrough yet. I still need time to develop.
I started
really
it.
Think about.
I started it, but really like it's cool because I'm noticing things early on already. So
Right.
it's
I needed time to. I needed a break because I played it so much.
mm-hmm.
I got massive headaches because I don't like that screen. I don't like being that close to the character. And then later on, I figured out you can actually move it out a little bit. So I moved it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was better. But see, that's just stuff like I can complain about the screen. I can complain about stuff, but that's not what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
The game as a whole is phenomenal, but it gave me headaches. I text you and I was like, dude, I feel like my brain is going to explode because one, there's too much happening. And there's so much new details that my brain is trying to add these details into my original playthrough. Like there's too much. I've got new information. I've got old information. I'm trying to think of it as, oh, this is a new game, but I'm also trying to put all these things into place where they're supposed to be in the original game. And I just felt like a sensory overload.
One of the first things that I did in both Sector 7 and Sector 5 slums was look up.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've never been able to do that before. To look up at Midgar at the plate. And then also like that's very important to do after the plate falls.
Sector 5's plate looks awesome because you can look up and you can see them trying to rebuild it.
But it's just like you just like there's 7 and it just wow, it's gone. It's just this big gaping hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, Mike, thank you so much for coming on here. Can't wait to talk to you again. I can't wait to work with you again at some point. One of these days, one of these weeks, when we're able to get back together and get back to some semblance of normalcy, which is I think it's going to be a long time before that's ever a thing. With the things going on in real life. But, thank all you guys for listening to this really long podcast. If you stuck with us this long, please give us a subscribe if you haven't, and please like it. If you do, give us a rating. That definitely helps us out. We're on podcast services all around the freaking globe. We already said it earlier, kind of, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, YouTube. The video version is up as well on YouTube, as well as gameplay of this very game that we're talking about. My entire first playthrough of the game is on YouTube. So if you want to,
go ahead. Sorry.
I'll just say if you want to come along and join me. I had some audio issues early on where like the game is a lot louder than what like I'm expecting, but I actually figured out auto ducking on Streamlabs. So whenever I talk, the audio for the game dips down and then comes back up when I stop talking. So.
Nice.
This game helped me figure that out.
I looked the other day. There was only 36,000 people watching Final Fantasy VII. There's still like 500,000 for freaking Fortnite.
Oh, of course.
And I was like, why are people not like? Why are you not watching Final Fantasy VII? Like, come on.
It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But yeah, you can also check us out on social medias like at Game Medics Play. We do live streams sometimes over there on twitch.tv/Game Medics Play. So we're gonna wrap this one up and take. I've talked so much my mouth won't work. We're gonna wrap up this podcast and send her home. Mike, thanks again for joining me.
Oh yeah, this. Yeah. This was happening.
It absolutely was happening, and it did. Thank you guys so much once again. Until next time, I've been Brando.
And I've been Mike.
And we will see you next time, somewhere, some way, under that nice steel plate.